Chapter 41, Fracture. In the southwest suburb of Vance City, there is a wall and a small castle. This is where the mercenaries of a wealthy Grey Dwarf merchant used to station. In the underground world where the powerful thrives through exploiting the weak, money is often forced to make dealings with strength, and wealthy merchants are often not too far from having a big army. But, it is a pity that the mercenary team that the Grey Dwarf chose to hire was a little too ambitious. In less than 3 months of being employed, they got rid of their boss and escaped with his money. Afterwards, this land was purchased at a cheap price by another merchant. This merchant has trade dealings with Sulphur Mountain City, so he sold it to us at a slightly higher price. Personally, I like this piece of land a lot. It might be a little too far from the heart of the city and the land around it is quite remote. But to us, who have quite a bit of enemies in the city, it is actually a good thing. At least, no one would be hurt in the traps set up by the hunters and mages and the landmines happily set by the goblins. Boom. It was indeed the right choice, otherwise, these frequent explosions would disturb the neighbors. After hearing the explosions that I have gotten used to, I nodded my head as I looked at the 70% done goblins whose souls were floating out of their body. Looking down, I casually ignored the two-naked man who just flew past. Eaglestorm, who grew a pair of wings, plus Xuiti, who is riding on him. Should I exclaim at Eaglestorm's powers? Despite body transformation being a high-level technique that only few of the great druids who specialize in transmogrification can use, but he used it to give himself a human body to spread his teachings of not wearing clothes. Wow 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 whoa. I am the king of the world. Alright, looking at the Tauren, he was slapping his chest and shouting loudly in the air. He is simply too much of an eyesore to ignore, so I picked up a round-shaped goblin landmine and threw it over like a frisbee. The frisbee made a perfect curve, but Eaglestorm's sharp eyes notices the sudden attack. By tilting his body slightly, he easily dodges the attack. Haha, you missed. That dumb count didn't know that his identity was long exposed by me and still shakes his butt towards me, flinging his bird. Using the king of the world as the target, test the might of the fixed cannon towers and the gnome's hand grenades. Fire. After passing down an order to the engineers and firers, I turn around and leaves. As I expected, the screams of agony of the two fools could be heard for a long time. HMPH, to dare to show your bird in front of me. Anyway, they are legend rank and they're tough enough. They won't die even if they fall down directly. It is a good opportunity to test the effectiveness of our defense devices. Yes, Lord. Truthfully, my words were excessive. To an engineer, as long as there is a chance to try out their treasures, why would they be worried about the life and death of their lab rats? 3 goblin cannons continuously fires and the gnome firer's hand grenades never stopped. And multiple rockets fly towards the sky. While a large portion of people looked skeptically at the rise of engineering, perhaps due to my interests as a transcender from a foreign world, I made Sulphur Mountain City support the development of engineering. In current times, due to the presence of many engineering master, Sulphur Mountain City has become the sacred land of engineering for the entire underground world. This time, in order to sustain those Rolands, I brought all of the engineers to make up for the incident previously. With the help of the engineers, the last-minute defense system is currently being renewed at the speed of 3 times a day. Seems like I accidentally used the wrong phrase, but it is enough as long as the meaning is there. TL. He used the phrase that the authors normally use to promise their readers to public_amount of chapter each day, and the phrase means 3 chapter a day. Cough. After researching the engineering system of this world carefully, I realized that their energy source is still mainly derived from the energy crystals found within magic beasts. The fossil fuels are still a few centuries too early before it can be truly used. In that instant, I knew that it was impossible for engineering to hit it big in a short period of time. Why? It is just the basic conservation of energy. If you want to move a giant device that is sufficient to kill a top-tier magic beast, you must first use the magic crystal of a top-tier magic beast. The Titan Heart and other kinds of permanent energy source cannot be mass-produced. On top of the unrefined usage of fossil fuels by goblins, the negative view in most people's mind that engineering equals explosion also makes it difficult for engineering to be spread around the world. At the same time, there is a ruckus at the doorstep. I walked there and saw the familiar Draken, Herald. He is currently carrying a sack with something struggling within, intending to sneak in. But it is a pity that the Dark Elf Knights wouldn't let such an obvious criminal act go and had him surrounded tightly. Let go of that horse. Two hooves were exposed from the struggling in the sack. I am a centaur, not a horse. Right, is there anyone outside? Save me. Save me. There is a kidnapper here. Hey, town security ladies, I am just following the teachings of my instinct and fulfilling my role as a hunter by bringing a prey back. This isn't a district under your control, so you can't dictate my actions, right? In a moment, the town security was at a loss of words. From a certain sense, they really do not have the authority to carry out the law in the city. Looking at this perverted hunter who is good at debating, I couldn't help but to think of the new perverse meter created by the town security, meter, and my head starts to hurt. There are too many perverts in Sulphur Mountain City, but Feng's pervert meter cannot be matched, so he became a SI unit for perverse. The Feng meter is decided by a vote from everyone. As he is hated by everyone, he is known as one Feng. The one that always flirts with female nobles, the moving obscenity, only has half of his hate ballots, so she is 0.5 Feng. The explosion maniac's brother is 0.6 Feng. That ugly eagle hooked nose, Eagle Storm, is 0.8 Feng. That Taran who always strips naked is 0.1 Feng. Wait, even though they are both perverts with a fetish for nude running, why is there such a great disparity between them? HMPH, it is hateful how he brings it out and flings it about despite not having the capital. Their answer made me sweat profusely. Also, don't just look at how gruff he looks, that Taran is actually quite obedient. He doesn't retaliate when you hit him, he doesn't even scold you back when you insult him. He is fit and can undergo beatings, fulfilling all the standards of a good man in our heart. Actually, many girls in our team are interested in him. If he could get rid of his bad habit of stripping naked, he might be even more popular. After all, no one who wished for their own property, male, to be exposed in the public. Fine, should I say as expected of dark elves? At that time, I tried to test them a little. Then, what about Roland? Tenpei Ifeng. I'm sorry, I know that he has dealings with the legal system and you hope to spare him. But whenever we think of him, everyone starts to grind their teeth in resentment, and finally, we decided to give him the highest value. Tenpei Ifeng, huh? Hee. Then what about number 2? 5 Feng? Of course it is Feng himself, one Feng. HMPH, that Bones must be a pervert whose head got dunked in water, otherwise why would he keep doing things that harm others and don't benefit himself? Fine, the moment I recalled of the fact that I was seen as a 10 Feng dumbass whose head is dunked in water while the silly cow on top is only 0.1 Feng and popular among the girls, my anger seems to rise from somewhere. Engineers, if you all are unable to shoot him down, then you all will be confined as a group. If you hit them down, they will be confined instead. Put in more effort, I want to see results before lunch. Alright, the moment that my voice echoes out, the firepower is increased by more than 3 times. At the same time, I walked slowly to the side of the Draken who was still standing triumphantly. You lot, did you all turn dumb from reading too much Codex? Indeed, this is not the district under your control. But you all aren't enforcers here too. Since you all came in your own capacity as an individual, there is no one here to interfere with you all. What is the point of considering so much when you want to beat someone up? Feng is indeed alert, and just when I finished my sentence, he was already ready to make a run for it. Incantation of law, judgment, incantation of law, stripping of freedom. As expected, Feng, who had just done a kidnapping, turned light red and was immediately stopped on the spot by the incantation of law. Beat him up. Maybe my commands were excessive. The town security, whose hatred was exploding, immediately swarms in. Those who are kicking were already considered mild. There are those using whips and shovels. Looks like the rule in Sulphur Mountain City preventing the abuse of those captured had the town security quite frustrated from restraining themselves. A fight bursts out here, and instead, I look worriedly at my quest board. Daily quest: set your dogs out to hurt others. Order your subordinates to surround and beat up people who you find an eyesore. The stronger the target, the more vicious the beating, the better the reward. Current progress: 2/3. Hero, did you think that as a demon king, I won't have my loyal lackeys? If you want to face me, first get rid of my underlings, the left and right guardians, 3 sky gods, 4 heavenly kings, 5 gold warriors, 6 protectors, 7 arhats, 8 sky dragons. Ha ha ha, I will be waiting for you at the 99th floor of the labyrinth. TL, references to Buddhism, can't find the exact English wordings. There is still one more lacking. Who should I look for? Forget it, anyone will do. With these bunch of perverts, do I still need to be afraid of being unable to find a reason to beat someone up? Thank you. But, can you be responsible for me? A shy voice resounds by my side, but the content was unbelievably explosive. Even the town security forgot to beat up Bai Feng, and the goblin cannon firers stopped from the shock. What? Responsible? Me? Fortunately, the mask covers my expression. Otherwise, everyone could see my silly look from my old lower jawbone falling down. Looking carefully, it seems that I recognize her. You? From that day? Great Lord, you still remember me. All because of you, I lost my most precious thing that day. A golden-colored horsetail sways along with the wind. The other half of the horse body is still in the sack, but the redness of her embarrassment extends all the way to her neck. Lord, can you be responsible for me? I don't request a lot, as long as I have sufficient food. I don't mind sleeping by the corridors. Vaguely, I feel that the gazes from my back has changed from respect to one looking at trash. She is so small. It can't be that Lord is also a special product from Sulphur Mountain City, pervert. Furthermore, a centaur. Her lower body is a horse. So his taste is the same as Bai Feng's. No wonder Lord couldn't find a girlfriend in Sulphur Mountain City and fools around the moment he comes out. HMPH, Momo's perfect image of him in my heart has crumbled. How disappointing. I thought Lord was cool, but I didn't expect him to be a pervert as well. What's more, a hypocrite who pretends to be righteous. Hate meter explodes. At least 0.9 Bai Feng. Actually, we shouldn't comment too much about his private relationship. Lord is a male after all, so he has the freedom to choose who he loves. However, messing around in the start and abandoning her afterwards is wrong. The town security captain Diana is understanding like always, but I really don't need this kind of interpretation. Hu Allah. Hearing the sound of the movement of ropes, I immediately lowered my head. Not surprisingly, a cold magic wire flies past slightly above my head. HMPH. Master, do you like Phoebe or iron? Let me book for you in advance. TL. Phoebe, I don't need a coffin. Even if Elisa doesn't point out what these materials refer to, but the frost on her face, the blood veins on her pretty face, and those endless wires that were furiously twisting about is sufficient to tell everything. Such a picky customer. Then, just eye on the cross on the fields. Not only is it environmentally friendly, we can also make good use of trash as a scarecrow to get rid of pests. Under Elisa's summons, countless ice form from the solidification of water vapor, turning into wires that brings about death. As for me, I can only dodge frantically. Center lass, I promise you everything, and I will be responsible. Help me explain quickly. Great Lord, since you're willing to provide Anya with a job, Anya will work very hard for you. Ever since I lost my job because you of, Lord, I really didn't know what to do. It was fortunate that you were willing to provide me with a job. Job? Responsible. After shouts of surprise, from the explanations of the center girl, everyone finally understands that it is just a misunderstanding. The one before me who is speaking shyly and even playing with her horse tail is Sanctorania, the unlucky fellow who lost his job after I caused a scene in the Platinum Mortar auction house. She, who viewed her first job in life as the most precious thing to her, naturally can't forget about me who caused her to lose it. Initially, on the afternoon 2 days ago, I found a job in a restaurant as a waitress. But, a holy knight caused a scene there, saying that she wants to arrest a criminal. In the end, she broke tables and chairs in her fight and ran away. In the end, the boss said that I failed to stop them and even wanted me to pay. Those elf holy knights are so fierce, how could I have stopped them? Holy knights? Furthermore, elf holy knights? This isn't Sulphur Mountain City, so I turned my gaze to the town security, and unsurprisingly, that last named Momo was intending to sneak away. Capture her. Alright, a few seconds later, there is another dumpling on the floor that is mumbling to herself. This is too much. How could it be my mistake to punish those slave traders? Momo isn't wrong. Yesterday afternoon, I found another job in the bathhouse. But, it was so scary. A bunch of naked perverts rushed in to bathe, and after bathing, they ran out naked again. Furthermore, they didn't pay any money and scared away all of the customers. The boss blamed me for not stopping them again, and I lost my job once more. I silently focused my gaze on those engineers. In the next instant, the firepower tripled once more. Yesterday afternoon, I found another job as a servant at the Lion King residence. But, several hours later, I met with misfortune once more. It was so scary. A very beautiful big sister suddenly rushes in, saying that she wants to borrow the scepter to take a look. My boss refused and they actually started to fight. In the end, half of the Lion King residence was destroyed. Is that big sister black hair dyed and there is a dragon tattoo like insignia on her left face? That center girl's story is simply too legendary that even Little Red came over to listen. But at this point, she suddenly asks seriously, Dragon Empress? After receiving confirmation, Little Red smiles and her smile was full of malice. It is her. Hee, borrowing Eternal Night Scepter to take a look? This can only be used to fool a kid. The third reason commonly used by the dragon tribes for extortion: lend me that so that I can take a look. I'm just going to take a look. If you really lent her that scepter, then you can be prepared to never get it back. The third? Then what are the first two? I heard that there is a beautiful princess in your home. I heard that the boy in your home is destined to become a dragon-slaying hero. Then, wouldn't there be a reason to extort from both guys and girls? Who created them? How exquisite! Truly a genius. Of course it is me who was born smart and pretty. But it is a pity that those idiots wouldn't admit I was obviously the one who created it, but everyone just used it. Ha, there are some things that can be done and not said. Now that you said it out directly, naturally, their pride cannot accept it. However, since the fragile alliance of the Dragon Empress and Beastman Sovereign is starting to fracture, the Dragon Empress should have come alone. Pass the message to Kaja and Edu. Maybe today's third dog will be quite strong and I would be able to reap great rewards from my daily quest. Chapter 42, The Truth of History. It is not without a reason that I would choose to conduct the auction 30 days later. There is still 2 weeks more before the Underground Alliance's biannual alliance meeting. All of the top brass of the alliance should be on their way, and it is better to have fun together as a group than as an individual. Tripping an entire nest is much better than tripping an individual. So let's get everyone to jump into the hole happily. TL just means pulling everyone down into the mud, the more the merrier. TL, the word used is greater than hole, pit. Sort of means to lay a trap then harm someone, could be playful, could be malicious, can't find a single adjective in English that encompass it. Following the procession of the Underground Alliance, entering the alliance is actually pretty easy, requiring only the approval of any 2 underground autarchs. But apparently, just entering the alliance isn't sufficient for my goals. A chance to showcase my might in front of the top brass is required. An international law: a new autarch must step on the old autarch to get in place, defeat or a draw. Perhaps, a long-established autarch like the Dragon Empress would be the ideal stepping stone. After all, even though her individual strength is the strongest among the autarch and the dragon cities under her are full of experts, but her total military might and influence is definitely the weakest in the underground world. It is the weakest, not one of the weakest, and this is a problem that arises from the core. There are no other reasons, and it is totally unrelated to her scheming and strength. It is just purely a reality check on how the races of the underground world affects the political situation. The current underground autarchs in power, while their individual might cannot be underestimated, but what that truly makes one unable to underestimate them are the underground cities supporting them. Take for example, Ainsterna. His individual strength is said to be Saint Rank Rookie, while Kaja is Saint Rank Intermediate and the Old Lion is Saint Rank Pinnacle. The Dragon Empress's total fighting strength is on the line of the semi-god, triumphing over the other autarchs by more than a rank. Despite Ainsterna being the weakest among the autarchs, but he is vaguely becoming the centerpiece of the alliance. TL, Rookie, greater than just entered the rank/intermediate. greater than halfway there/pinnacle, greater than peak of the rank in history. He is the final head of command of the Alliance to bring about the invasion to the surface, which means that he is the last one standing then. The underground world is always a place where Fist speaks the loudest. He might be the weakest individually, but he has the strongest influence. Having 50 underground cities directly under him is already very scary, but there are at least 400 underground city lords who support him secretly in the shadow. The reason? He is a human, at least on the surface. That's why the other human underground city lords support him. It is that simple. The Old Lion and Kaja is also the same. As an underground beastman sovereign and a high priestess of the Dark Elves, their potential supporters are strength that cannot be estimated. From a certain perspective, they are the highest leader that represents the benefits of their race. Of course, a large portion of the underground city lords will not admit to it, but their private inclinations are quite obvious. This was also the reason why when Shu attacked Sulphur Mountain City, he was able to get City Lord HNG who doesn't fall within his command to act as cannon fodder. When an alliance works together towards a single goal, in order to not become cannon fodder, in order to earn more benefits and for a plot of land with better sunshine, many underground city lords will look for an underground autarch to support and join. Shu, Ainsterna and Kaja's army will grow stronger like a rolling snowball and become an underground autarch true to its title. Underground Dragon Tribe. The young dragons who are willing to listen to commands are already serving under the Dragon Empress. Certainly, there are many hidden ancient dragons and even immemorial dragons, but are they people that Molly, who is only an ancient dragon, is able to command? At that time, when the boat of the other autarchs float up, the only one that remains in its original position, Dragon Empress Molly's, would lag behind and probably end up as a high-tier fighter. So, her pursuit for strength is much more intense than the other underground autarchs, and thus, the Eternal Night Scepter is much more attractive to her. Fights have never stopped in the underground world. Normally, people will still leave a line of morality against people of the same tribe, whereas a war between foreign races will be extremely violent and bloody. There are more than a few that have grudges against other races, and it is said that even the Old Lion had once been enslaved as a Colosseum gladiator by a human underground city lord. That's why the Beastman Sovereign treats the underground beastmen relatively well and is unforgiving towards humans. As for Sulphur Mountain City, due to its diverse population base, even though it won't be seen as an enemy by the other underground city lords, but it will never receive the goodwill of any other underground cities other than the humans. But due to the city lord being Adam Han, who in the eyes of the grandchildren of those who were exiled and the exiled, a hero who has saved the world, is too radiant, making it difficult for them to walk together. Thus, perhaps it would be much better if Annie, who was also born in the underground world, to take over. Then, even if Sulphur Mountain City were to join the Underground Alliance and gain a seat as one of the Underground Autarch, it is destined to be sidelined. From the very start, I gave Sulphur Mountain City a fixed role. The stick that creates problem, the smelly rocks in the toilet. Yes, since we are unable to join the core group, then we should just create trouble for the core group. There are minorities and those who are sidelined everywhere. I will gather and unite all of these minorities and form quite a sizable power. If you want to strike the east, I will intentionally go for the west. When you want to attack the city, I will deliberately vote for protecting our homes. This way, the bloody war with the surface could at least be dragged by a few years. When the invasion of the undead calamity and demons starts, then it would be time for this group who are skilled in internal conflict to hug together for warmth. TL, skilled in internal conflict, greater than good at internal conflicts but bad in dealing with external threats. It is like that in the history too. The reason why it was getting harder and harder to deal with the calamities afterwards is because the I-continent's losses were too great from the first few calamities, especially for the dominant human empires who, despite having the most population and strongest overall strength, but the constant war among kingdoms, internal conflict among cult teachings, the invasion by the underground world, the invasion by the undead and the invasion of demons. They totally failed as a pillar to prop up the entire continent. They were totally destroyed in the course of these few wars. Of course, one of the reasons is because there were quite a few races who view humans, who were populous and take up the most land, as an eyesore. In the original history, When the underground world and human kingdom is done with their bloody war on the plains and each of their population has been cut by 30%, the timely arrival of the undead calamity, in the original history, Zilluo Empire doesn't exist, only the undead Lich Council. They opened the gates leading to the undead dimensions, converted the two of the sides who were still fighting passionately into an inn on a noose. In the more difficult days ahead, countless people conjectured that if the human kingdoms and the underground world didn't fight to such an extent and instead, retained over half of their fighting power, perhaps the situation wouldn't end up like that. At that time, in order to deepen the friendship and trust of both sides, one of the few remaining heads of the Underground Alliance, Queen of Dark Elf Victoria Svan, even had a political marriage with the Alland Empire's King of the Winter Wolves, and they fell in love from there on, making quite the talk in history. It is a pity. It is said that Victoria Svan, even within the elves who are filled with beauties, is a rarely seen cream of the crop. Perhaps that is the reason why the King of Winter Wolves left behind his famous last words: "You resent that I was born late, I resent that you were born early." Throughout my life, the thing that I hate the most is even before my death, I was unable to forget you. However, being able to marry an unforgettable beauty back to his home and still die with resentment, he really should learn to be satisfied, or else what are we bachelors supposed to with ourselves? Master, how can you be a bachelor when you are so popular? Even though the misunderstanding was dispelled, but the frost on Elisa's face didn't have the trace of melting, so it was a little mystifying. Weird, you should have known from the start that it was a misunderstanding. Let's not talk about the centaur. Even if it is a beauty, what can this sack of old bones do? You are intending to make use of the situation to commit a coup d'etat. My angry roar didn't cause the cold eyes that seemed to be looking at Trash Waver. Normally in this kind of situations, I probably would have really done something wrong, but I obviously didn't do anything wrong recently. Under the cover of the 46 skills of black magic on your shelves. No wonder, you are the one who changed my drawings of elves on the beach into drawings of the male goblin body. Those green naked goblins, I almost puked on the spot. When I was sharing it with Adam, the eyes that he looked at me with is even colder than yours. The message he was expressing was obvious. So you were actually a pervert with a fetish for goblins? Stay away from me. At that moment, I even had the thought of crashing my head onto the wall and just fall dead. Oh. So Lord Adam, you also played a part. Looks like I must tell Lord Margaret. It is time to clean away illegal magazines in the city. I need to clean up my family today. TL, the phrase is normally used when you rid disgraces within your family. The little tips from the Enchantress? Mage Carl's hunting compass? You did well. But, fire explosion is already here. I felt a shiver running down my back as each and every one of these book names were called. Those artwork that were under the cover of seemingly proper books. They are my life. They are precious treasures that took me much effort to collect in this resource-lacking world. Master Elisa, please spare those children. If anything, please direct them to this pile of old bones. With hostages in her hand, I had no choice but to lower my head. You should be well aware of what you did. Take care. After finishing her piece, Elisa bows and leaves. On other days, after making me surrender, she would be extremely overjoyed, but now, looking at the drooping tail, she seems to not only be angry, but her mood is very down. Looking at this situation, Annie comes bumping over with a playful smile and whispers in my ear, "Uncle Bones, the reason why Big Sister Elisa is angry is because of the present sent over from Morseblight City. It is a very pretty dark elf Big Sister, you know." Present? What? I didn't know how to react to this sudden catastrophe. It is normal for the Dark Elves to send a present to tighten our relationship, but I didn't expect them to send over a living person. It is a humongous beautiful Big Sister. Annie has never seen such a beautiful Big Sister. She seems to be called Victoria. What? Victoria? Victoria Svan? Ah, you also know her, Uncle Bones? So, she is very famous. But I guess it is to be expected, such a beautiful Big Sister. However, Annie will try hard and drink more milk. Big Sister Margaret has said that men like big chests. Even though that Big Sister is very beautiful, but she doesn't have breasts at all. I totally ignored what Annie was saying. After hearing the match in names, 10,000 mud horses, Kauniwa, whistles through my mind. What exactly is this situation? Why is the future Queen of Dark Elves sent over to me? Without her taking over as the Queen, how can the situation with the surface powers be resolved? Is the butterfly effect that exaggerated? TL, a homophone for screw your mum. I hurriedly rushed over and saw a beauty being surrounded by a bunch of dark elf knights. Fine eyebrows with warm eyes. Facial features like a painting. Seductive red lips coupled with some blush brings out the image of a fairy descending. She doesn't have the sharp heroic spirit and domineering personality commonly seen in dark elves, but she has a kind of warmth and disposition similar to a jade, making one feel at ease. It is a kind of beauty that makes one's eyes want to linger the more they stare at her. From the perspective of a man, this kind of virtuous wife and kind mother type of women is the hardest to resist. Also, if you must compare her outer appearances and disposition with the others, she is even above that of Margaret and Elisa, who are also rarely seen beauties themselves. It is no wonder she left her mark in history for her looks. TL, virtuous wife and kind mother, greater than a common phrase used to describe ladies. No wonder the King of Winter Wolves couldn't forget the image of her, and no wonder Elisa would vent her anger on me. This is an extremely beautiful person with the personality of a virtuous wife and kind mother. Exactly my dish. But why is it that I instinctively felt that something was amiss? This is weird. I don't get the impulse I get when I see beautiful ladies. On the contrary, my instinct is telling me that she is a trouble, a gigantic trouble. Afterwards, Diana's fierce roar made me understand where the problem arose from. Vicador.Fan. Why are you here, and why are you dressed like this? Diana.Fan, please call me Victoria.Fan now. Currently, I am a female priestess of Lorsai. Due to your irresponsible betrayal, Lorsai's wrath came falling on me, and as your only kin, I suffered the god's punishment of being transmogrified permanently. But fortunately, Lorsai found that the female me had extremely high aptitude for the divine arts and allowed me to serve as her priestess, sparing my life. This is all thanks to you, my beloved sister. Facing the seemingly calm but in reality, full of reproach reply of her brother, Diana's face immediately tightens as her hand trembles. The sacred sword Silver Avenger suddenly falls to the floor, and the helpless and troubled face of the female knight seems to be thinking about where did she go wrong. So she is actually a boy, or rather, used to be a boy. No wonder I instinctively felt that something was amiss. So, hidden behind this body of a world-class beauty is the soul of a male. Wait, if I didn't create Sulphur Mountain City, then Diana might not have escaped in betrayal, or at least, would not have escaped for so long to cause Lorsai to deliver God's punishment personally in anger. Then, could it be possible that the Queen Victoria in history is a male? This is totally possible. In the female-dominated Dark Elf society, it is impossible for a male to strike it big. If you want to climb up the ladder, faking your gender is an obvious thing to do. Furthermore, the natural beauty of the elves makes them androgynous and hard to tell apart. Alright, my face? Ed. This time, the mud horses, Kauniwa, that whistles through is twice in number than the previous. You resent that I was born late. I resent that I was born early. No wonder he used the masculine term. Maybe, it is the servants who heard it wrongly. It should be you resent that I was born female. I resent you for the same. You hate that I wasn't born a female. Actually, I so hate you equally for not being a female. No wonder the King of Winter Wolves hated himself for being unable to forget Queen Victoria. He picked up a male who cannot be refunded for a political marriage, and what's worse is that he fell in love, being unable to forget him even on the verge of death. If I were to be in his shoes, don't just talk about the regret of my life, I would even have the intention to destroy the whole world. TL, the poem is a homophone as well. I noticed Victoria's gaze on me. She places her hand on her forehead, seeming to want to say something. Ignoring Diana's pleading eyes, I turn around to leave. Let the truth of the history be buried within history. An existence that can twist the Emperor of all and too fearsome. Chapter 43, Butterfly. Looking at the gentle young lady in front me, my mind is extremely troubled. I once thought that if I really meet with important figures in history, I could act like the senior transcenders in those novels and use the powers of a seer to win great benefits. Now that I finally meet one, furthermore a really big one, I am at a loss at where I should start. Following the mainstream views in novels, When facing important characters in history, I should either try my best to build up my relationship with her to reap rewards in the future, or take the opportunity before she matures to scare her, shake her violently, sprinkle large amounts of money on her and collect this future expert as my underling. But this kind of situation I am facing now has never appeared in dimension traveling novels. I don't need her to repay me anything, nor do I need any new underlings. But if I were to help her without expectations of any rewards, then wouldn't I be casually grooming a potential enemy? It seems like a silly move. If it is a book with heavy taste, this would be a great development in the plot. I would give out to deviant laughter and grab for the candles and leather whip behind me. Then, reaching out my hands, I would follow up with the hee hee, your sister is in my hands, you know it. But if the story really develops in such a fashion, then Elisa and the rest who are secretly listening in outside would immediately rush in. Also, even if I had decided to sin, I don't have the tools required. Somehow, inexplicable sadness wells up. Oh great will of the universe, can you stop using this joke? It really hurts me so much. Alright, if it is a story happening in a man-restricted dimension, at this moment, I would have fallen heads over heels by her beauty and kindness, smitten by her and willing to do anything for her. In essence, becoming a subject under her skirt. In the end, depending on whether the author wants a normal or beautiful story, I would either help her to regain her identity as a man or remain this way with her. Of course, if the author's sadistic side suddenly works up, then I might end up meeting with a series of tragedies before die. If the author comes with a story of pure love, we might even end up being childhood friends and lovers in our previous life. Then, we would meet with a series of difficulties. Seems like in that dimension, not once has the male lead had a good life. If it is a drama about fighting against the Japanese, then at this moment, we would have drawn a shotgun and bang 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 bang, we would be rolling about while firing our guns. In the end, without a single wound or a trace of damage on our clothes, we would start engaging in hand-to-hand combat, and depending on which one is the invader, the person would get torn apart before the budget runs out. TL, this gun. If this is a certain 8 p.m. primetime drama of a certain country, then Victoria's leukemia should be acting up soon, or she would get hit by a car while walking on the street, or an evil mother-in-law would make things difficult for her. Also, if the drama manages to shoot on for a long period of time, an old doctor might even pop out and shout, actually you are siblings. This ending doesn't sound too bad, at least the one who suffers is the female lead. If this is a certain detective show, then a scream of agony would be heard from outside now. Then, I would be able to shout proudly, the murderer is our midst, and then a bunch of messy explanation. This seems to be a nice way to take up the word count. Lord? A warm voice echoes in the room. As the host, I have been standing in a daze from the moment I entered the room. This may be disrespectful, but Victoria made good use of this opportunity to assess this riddle-like man. A bulky robe and a silver mask might have shrouded all of his features, but the heart rate, the gaze, habitual motions and even the rate at which the finger taps on the top of the desk can reveal a lot to someone who specializes in observation. Vicador, no, it should be Victoria now, has confidence in her observation skills, but even though 10 minutes have passed, she didn't manage to get anything important. As expected of the great saint who single-handedly created the power of law. No heartbeat, introverted eyes and no excessive motions. He seems like withered piece of wood sitting in meditation. Totally nothing can be seen about him. In Victoria's mind, Wumians, who maintained that eerie silence ever since entering the room, was testing her patience. While she was observing the other party was also observing her, and the eyes behind the mask may seem lifeless, but it seemed to have seen through everything about her. In the room that wasn't very spacious, a formless pressure is getting stronger. 10 minutes later, Victoria, who can't stand the situation any further, finally breaks the silence. This is also equivalent to admitting defeat in this competition of patience. Lord, you have something to discuss with me? As for me, I had no idea what went through the other party's mind. But dazing away after calling someone here, it was quite disrespectful of me. I felt a little embarrassed. Cough. Can you talk about your past? Including the part about your sister. In order not to get treated as a spy, Victoria won't try to hide anything. Very soon, I authenticated my guesses that the reason why Queen Victoria, male, became the Priestess Victoria is because of my butterfly effect. I took the time to look through the game walkthrough a while before coming here. It is impossible for information on Queen Victoria, who played an important role in history, to be lacking. Then, I noticed a part which I had neglected before. Epic Hero Knight of the Moon Diana. Yes, the captain of the Town Order security team, simplified as Town Security, that I created on my interest and the silly female knight that I always tease. According to the records of history, she would grow quickly in the future battles and become the general of the Imperial Guards and the most trusted general of Moon Queen Victoria. Where the bright moon reaches, all filth would be exposed. Despite her heritage as an evil female elf knight, she transcended the boundaries of race and skin color to become the incarnation of divinity and justice. Reading to this point, I was shocked. I actually changed this powerful and perfect female knight in history, through a few decades of peaceful life in Sulphur Mountain City, into a person who shouts her cheers while going to exercise every day punctually, makes use of the clear day to quickly dry her clothes, and the naive lady who looks at new fresh tidbit and restrains herself from collecting dowry. But personally, compared to the cold epic hero, I prefer this silly lass who is nice to make fun of. Cough. Looks like I went out of topic. Back to the main matter at hand. Knight of the Moon is the most trusted sword of the Moon Queen, and now, the reason is apparent. As his only blood-related sister, it is natural for him to trust a legend-rank sister following him about. Even the lowly males can grow and mature properly in this Fen family through coming into contact with magic and important knowledge of the outside world. Facing the harsh present and future, he toughens his determination to change everything. As a male dark elf is destined to be unable to climb up the ladder of power, he disguised as a female, and with his sister's help, he manages to build up his own power and starts to rise in power. But now, due to the escape of his sister, he became the abandoned child of the family. From the lack of flexibility of his flesh, Victoria obviously lacks the talent to become a warrior, and becoming a mage requires money, an astronomical amount of money. It would already be good if the poor and weak Vicador was able to prevent that little pocket money he has from getting snatched away, so how was it possible for him to come into contact with magic? In addition to that, he lacks strength, resulting in his place in the family getting lower and lower. It is actually kind of funny now that I think of it. If I didn't transform into a girl due to the god's punishment and awaken my talent to the divine arts, I might have become a bed toy of some matriarch. However, a small silver rank priestess is still a toy in the face of those influential figures. Lord, I am your property now. So, what do you intend for me to do? There is traces of worry within the smile of the young lady, but her delicateness made her seem more pretty and feminine. The soft voice that sounds almost like a pleading can incite a man's desire to dominate. In the instant, I recalled the small drama that played in my brain. Your sister is in my hands, you know it. I'm sorry, I accidentally used the wrong words. This face is really too dangerous. I accidentally almost said all of my heartfelt words out. Looking at the door, there seems to be movement. Fortunately, I stopped in time, so they didn't rush in. Then, you. At this point, I was a little vexed. My initial decision was to stay as far as possible from such a dangerous existence. But Victoria is the future Moon Queen in history. The potential in her strength and influence is something cannot be doubted. If I were to just leave her to rot, it would really be a pity. Turning the epic hero to a naive woman was enough. If I were to change this female queen into a rice bug, it would be seriously a waste. Naive woman, greater than the word used for woman here describes her as being manly/having heroic spirit. Just follow your sister for now. But, we don't keep idle people here. What are you skilled at? I will help you look for a job. A male dark elves must know techniques to serve their father. Actually, it is useful on both males and females. My evaluation in this aspect is very high, and now that you are my master, if you have requests, at this point, the young lady lowers her head embarrassed, the blush extending all the way to the ears as her face brought about the look of spring. Her elf ears quivered, adding on to her cuteness. This is already a rare show of restraint among the dark elves, but, please excuse me. I stand up and walks towards the wall. Then, I knocked on it with great strength. Pa pa pa. The entire mansion shakes, and not long later, This kind of earthquake would happen multiple times in this small camp. Fellow male brethren would look at the swelling of their friends and flash an understanding smile. He is a male, Roland, you must endure it. Even if she is the prettiest one you have met, but he is still a male. Even if her physical body is a female, but he is still a male. You, Roland, are definitely not a gay. Definitely not. After chanting silently in my heart, I offer my boundless sympathy to the king of the winter wolves. Looking at such a face every day coupled with such a cute personality, it is simply too easy to walk down the wrong path. Alright, let's continue on. What are you skilled in? Don't bother talking about lore-size stuffs. But, Lord, is your head okay? It's fine, continue on. Looking at this ridiculous man whose head turned more than 200 degrees and was crooked at the neck, Victoria can only exclaim in her heart, Lord Woomians is really incredible. Even when his neck is crooked to that angle where a normal man should have long died, he seems not to be in pain at all. I am not very good at interrogation and poisoning. The instructor said that I didn't have much talent in them. However, for history, strategies and military affairs, I am the best in the entire academy. In fact, I am probably the best in the entire Morspelite city. Hearing this, I started to pay more attention. Her strengths in analyzing history and military stratagem might just be the best in the entire Dark Elf race. Then, I would have really picked up a treasure this time. Then, help me to analyze the situation of the current Underground Alliance. That Eternal Night Scepter should be a ploy that Lord set up, right? I personally sent this Eternal Night Scepter over, causing Shu to be under immense pressure to the extent that he even almost fell out with Molly. Following the flow of time, trouble will keep coming. This is obviously a trap for him, so saying that it is a ploy that I set up isn't wrong. If he only analyzed this much, then I must say that the Moon Queen might really have been blown away by the wings of the butterfly. Then, Lord, are you intending on attacking Dragon Queen Molly? If that is what you are intending, please give up. You are underestimating the underground autarchs. This is a trap that they have set up. Chapter 44, Before the Storm. In ancient times, when tacticians face city lords that have requests of them, they will often phrase the situation in a way that make it seem like they are in a very difficult situation, as though their lives may be lost any time. Everyone have fears. When one's life is threatened, they would be extremely alert and careful. When the city lords hear from their tactician that their life is hanging, they would uncover it to the end despite how much they don't believe in it. If they realize that they are in a precarious situation after an intensive interrogation, naturally, they will seek for a solution through the tactician. Then, the opinions of the tactician would be much more respected. When the crisis is averted, the standing of the tactician would naturally rise through the ranks. Following their rise in standing, their new opinions will become more and more respected, allowing their rise in power to be more and more rapid. The saying I accept the responsibility of leading the army when the country's on the verge of defeat. In times of trouble, I will carry out my job probably means this kind of situation. This has nothing to do with the matter at hand, it is just a trick used by tacticians to be more respected by the city lords they are serving. The wiser the tactician is, the better they are at employing this trick. Master, please teach me. It seems that according to this lady's script, I should be shouting these words. After that, she would analyze for me how did the Lion King and Dragon Empress fake their falling out, and that as soon as we make a move against them, they would declare war on us, spreading the notion that we are spies sent by the surface to destroy the alliance from within, causing others to be wary of us. Then, they would personally attack us and force us to the corner. By then, it would be too late to leave. But if it is just to this extent, they are really underestimating me, Woomians. I got it. You stay with your sister for the time being. You both should have a lot of things to say. Facing my unexpected coldness, Victoria sits up, agitated, with anxiety spelled on her face. She seems to be on the verge of saying something, but looking at the emotionless me, she ends up leaving the room helplessly. Alisa. If you don't come out now, your wages next month will be gone. Master, please pay me the wages you owe me on last year's this month. Before saying such words. Cough. Alisa, what do you think of the presents sent by the Dark Elves? Lord, this must be a trap. Propping up her glasses, she says these words beside my ear, Emotionless. Duh. The kindness of the Dark Elves is as lacking as that lass's chests. I am asking you, what do you think of the thing with the Dragon Empress? Lord, the original saying is the kindness of a Dark Elf is equally improbable as irrational beastmen, and mocking the lacking of others isn't a proper action for a gentleman that respects ladies. If she were to hear your words, she would be depressed. Even though she said these words, her tone obviously softened by 20%. But, from my personal view, her words are probably true. The reason? Intuition. Hee, intuition your head. Don't tell me that you haven't received the report and analysis from Observer. As a diplomat, it is impossible to survive blind and deaf in a land full of enemies working against you. As soon as we entered the city, my intelligence team Observer immediately dispersed and started to collect information. From my understanding of their work efficiency, all kinds of reports should be stacked up on Elisa's desk by now. The Lion King and the Dragon Empress really crossed blows, and their fight was quite intense. Half of the Lion King residence being destroyed isn't a false news, but it is precisely because of that we can be sure that they are definitely staging a show. Is it too fast? Too obvious? That's right, there is still more than 20 days before the auction date. They could have researched it together. Even if a fight were to blow up, it shouldn't happen right now. No, it is just that if they really fell out, the Dragon Empress, which is 2 ranks higher than the Lion King, would have long stole the items and escaped. But, the scepter is still in the hands of the Lion King, which shows everything. Furthermore, when 2 such experts start fighting, it should the entire street around the Lion King residence getting destroyed, and not just the Lion King residence itself. This is just a show, and if we were to really make a move, they would move on to make us the public enemy of the Alliance. I nodded my head satisfied. What Lisa said concurs with what I was thinking. From the very start, we, Sulphur Mountain City, is the anomaly of the underground world. Joining the Alliance would not necessarily be a good thing to the few current underground arc, especially for the Lion King and Dragon Empress who have a grudge with us. I could collude with Kaja and Ainsterna and make use of the Eternal Night Scepter to divert firepower away from us. But, Shu and Molly aren't fools, and the tacticians under them wouldn't be so incapable to be unable to see the situation clearly. Naturally, they won't allow us to successfully join the Alliance, so it is almost inevitable that we would face schemes and troubles. Even if this isn't a trap, I only intend to contact Kaja and Ainsterna. I never intended to get involved in it. We are the newcomers that don't belong to any factions or powers. It cannot be helped that people would be wary of us. If I were to take the initiative to attack the Dragon Empress, then they would only have to spread rumors that we are ambitious for power and that Adam is born on the surface. We would be seen as enemies by most of the neutral city lords. When this gets past a certain extent, coupled with the incitement of underground autarchs, we would be exiled by the Alliance and even hunted down. Obediently staying in our home base is the best decision. Hey, this really makes one feel so helpless. Yes, as the date of the auction and the Alliance conference at the end of the year approaches, the burden on Shu will become heavier and heavier. This would put us further away from the eye of the troubles. It is best we don't do anything now and wait patiently. That would be the most appropriate decision. To pass the initiative to the opponents isn't a good habit. Tell those fellows that they are granted the freedom to get on the streets and cause as much trouble as they please. If there's anything they find an eyesore, feel free to interfere. Show them the might of Sulphur Mountain City. All is good as long as they don't get bullied. If they find someone they can't defeat, call for support. If they are still unable to settle it, return back to base. I will handle it even if the sky falls. Hearing that, Elisa gasps, shocked. You are allowing those perverts to act as they please, authorizing those single-celled knights to go on the street to enforce the law. Let those devoted believers of law spread their teachings on the street. You do know that this city is different from Sulphur Mountain City. There are criminals everywhere, right? If they were to fool about, it would definitely get to the point of no return. Do you intend on destroying the whole Vance City? The underground world respects the strong. The voice of the weak won't be heard. I am just using my own actions to do my self-introduction, otherwise I would have just brought those bastards here just to waste my rations. Right, get the engineers to prepare the Roland series to move out. Leave some pilots here to wait for orders so that they can reinforce the others at all times. DSK, Those stubborn fools still refuse to change the name. This name really feels so awkward. I got it. Then, how should I deal with Victoria? Wash her clean first. Alright, I will wash her clean and tie her on your bed. But, your physical condition doesn't seem to be at a good state. I'm afraid you might not be able to enjoy her. Do you need me to call some adult toy shops to purchase some tools? Stop fooling around, you know what I mean. The kindness of dark elves? If you were to put these two together, the entire underground world just treats it as a joke. The dark elves pride themselves on betrayal and lies. It would be weird if there's nothing wrong with their present. But even if there's a problem with Victoria, it isn't like there is no solutions to it. Since they sent over a living person, then she must either be a spy that might betray us anytime or a living bomb that will explode at any moment. What that compels Victoria to follow the orders of her original master would probably be a magic contract, threatening her with the life of her kin and such means. Magic contracts can be erased. The wires of the bombs can be cut and hostages can be stolen over. Washing clean is a commonly used spy language. It means to force the person in question to confess all her secrets to see if she could be saved. If there is a possibility to convert her over, then we'll try to pull her as one of our people. You sure are concerned about her. I thought that you would give the order to erase this volatile factor. It is too easy to make her die of an accident. I reckon that silly sister of hers shouldn't be sufficient to affect your judgment. Unless, you have really learned to cherish women? Towards these kind of presents whose history is unknown, I would normally decisively erase them so as to prevent problems in the future. But if Queen Victoria in history dies just like that, it would really be a great waste. Furthermore, since I realized that I had been neglecting Diana's potential all along, I shouldn't allow her to continue wasting it. In the future, she might become a powerful fighter on our side, and falling out like this really isn't worth it. But it isn't easy to explain these things to Elisa. Pretending to be a seer of calamities is already a limit. If I were to be so godly as to predict that a stranger has the potential to become an epic hero, that would be too over the top for anyone to believe. It definitely isn't because I found explaining troublesome that I found myself a bunch of reasons. Thus, I simply laughed. Ha ha. Stop saying silly things. You know that it is a guy inside, and Lich Roland, is definitely not a gay. HMPH, who knows? Even though she said it like that, but from the looks of her swinging tail with a butterfly knot at the end during her departure. Elisa's mood is quite good, huh? Since those stocks that were discovered are going to face with tragedy sooner or later, I should go to Vance City's underground book collection to top up my collection. Since her mood is good, she might even let me off even if she catches me in the act. What? No guts to ask someone out? I also want to ask someone out, but other than enjoying eye candies, what else can I do? I stare at this unfamiliar and empty room. Somehow, I feel a little lonely. I shake my head, opens the window and look at the scenery of lights outside. Schemes are not the true way to go, but it is a pity that we aren't strong enough. If we were to trace everything to the source, the main reason is our powerlessness. The total military power of the envoy team is only these 5 to 6 legend rank, while those autarchs, under their accumulation from a few centuries, when they move all of their people, they are capable of taking out 400 to 500 legend rank city lords. If we were to go at them directly, we will be the ones who suffer. The only top tier power that we can move from our side is Little Red, and there are already 4 underground autarchs standing on the other side. Also, it is unknown how many other equal tier existences there are. If Adam and Margaret are here, no, even if they abandon their job of protecting Sulphur Mountain City and the investigation of the seal of the fire elemental god, it might not good for our situation here. If they really come, it will make us stand out. With an overly powerful combat ability and an identity not of the underground world, they might cause us to be seen as enemies and assault us from the very start. TL, exact phrase used when he said that it might not good if they really come, greater than it might not be a good thing for the swan to stand tall in the midst of a group of chickens. Adam, that dumbass, isn't good at acting, and Margaret couldn't care less about compromising. In the end, there's an 80% chance a full-blown war might break out. It is a much better decision for them to be acting as a threat behind our backs now, preventing the Lion King and Dragon Empress from getting physical with us. Sigh. If only we had 2 more top-tier powers. Just when I was complaining over the lack of fighting power, I failed to consider that this isn't my old dwelling that I am familiar with, and the empty room on the left has a small secret chamber. From there is a peephole which the original owner left to look and listen into the happenings in the library. What should I do? Lord Woomians is actually that bad, Lich Roland. I accidentally overheard a big secret. Will Momo be silenced? Momo doesn't want it. Momo hasn't saved up sufficient dowry to marry a husband. This secret chamber was discovered by Momo when she was checking out the mansion. But, delighted over this unexpected surprise, she didn't report it and instead used it as her secret slacking and snack spot. On the other end of the chamber, Diana's face was dumbfounded. Initially, she was worried about her own brother, and Momo said that she had a way to find out what they were discussing. So, she followed Momo into the secret chamber she discovered and instead, learned this explosive secret. No wonder we were unable to catch Roland. No wonder Roland is always a step behind the boundaries of punishment. What should we do? But very soon, she remembered the city which she and her companions view as home. The future Knight of the Moon made up her mind. The grave and wise Woomians is the core and the basis of the judiciary system, so he must be infallible. Momo, you definitely must not reveal this matter. Absolutely never. Chew. In the empty underground tinsel, the sound of the sneeze echoes loudly, traveling a great distance away. What's wrong? Aw dang, you can actually catch a cold? The one speaking is a female elf riding on a tall skeleton horse. The extravagant robe on her extends past the body of the horse to the floor. Her eyes, which resembles a whirlpool of intertwining black and white, had some kind of inexplicable leery to them. The skeleton horse which is moving slowly is obviously no ordinary being. It is more than 3 meters tall, and on the ground it steps on, an icy hoof could be seen. In this instant, the bone dragon queen Grya, who doesn't even bat an eye to the end of the world, was actually surprised at how her companion, which was normally healthy to an outrageous extent, can actually get sick. Papa misses Aw dang. Papa needs Aw dang. Aw dang must go and see Papa. The one saying this is a short dwarf. His face is full of pimples and he is biting on a chicken leg like food. His eyes are unfocused and saliva drips uncontrollably from his mouth as he walks, making him look dim-witted. But, the seemingly normal walking motion, even with him occasionally stopping to pick up stones to throw at the nests of birds, he still manages to move faster than the tall skeleton horse. Is that so? Looks like Lionheart isn't wrong. As the first undead created personally by our Emperor, you are indeed our Emperor's eldest son in a certain sense, so there should be some kind of connection between you and our Emperor. Our Emperor? No, your father. Where is he? Can you confirm his location? Below. Aw dang feels it, he is below. Hee, that's good. We shouldn't be far from our destination, Bens of the Underground Alliance, right after this fortress. We just received reports that Lamost and the rest have arrived, so we must hurry. Otherwise, your father might find himself in a bad situation. Aw dang will beat up anyone who dares to bully Appa. Aw dang will eat anyone who blocks Aw dang from finding Appa. The voices of dwarves are similar to that of human children, so that childish-sounding threat may seem weak. But Grya knows that even if the one in the way is legendary Dragon Empress Molly, Aw dang will still fulfill his words. If he says that he is going to eat her, then, not a single scale will be left. Not too far away is the granite fortress in the underground tunnel. That is a barrier set up by underground city lords around this area. On the other days, they are responsible for collecting tax for using this path, but today, fully armed beastmen soldiers can be seen everywhere. Just as the two people approaches the security radius of the archers, the fire used for lighting up the area flies towards them. Who's there? It is an emergency situation now, and the Lord Beastman Sovereign has ordered for all underground tunnels to be sealed. No matter who you are and your reason for heading to the underground world, please return back from the path you came from. Grya assesses the Lion Tribe Beastman who is leading the team on the front lines. Finding no unique individuals, she lies on her vine chair uninterested. She knows that Aw dang has starved for far too long since the last meal from the previous underground city, and in the face of the starving Aw dang, she has no chance to fight at all. Aw dang is hungry. Aw dang wants to eat meat. Looking at the small dwarf running towards him, The Leo commander raises up his double-handed greatsword wearily. "Don't come over, stay where you are." But, the dwarf continues to advance, so the Leo commander raises his right hand to give out a signal for arrows to be fired. Afterwards, there is no more afterwards. In a distortion, the dwarf disappears and what is left on the ground is that thigh of the dragon queen he was chewing on. Ah, what kind of monster is this? Shrouded in dark fog, a large figure fills up the entire tunnel. A large monster that exceeds all imagination seems to have transversed beyond the world of dreams into reality, and the terrified beastmen soldiers had nowhere to run to. After 1 minute, when everything calmed down, what was left is a gigantic hole. Yes, the entirety of the granite fortress and the beastmen in it have all disappeared without a trace. The only thing remaining is a gigantic hole. How is it? Delicious. It is a little tough, and some of it even got stuck on my teeth. Not delicious, not delicious. Ah dang, wants delicious food. Then let's go to Vance. Your next restaurant is waiting there. Chapter 45, Legend. The luminescent algae quietly hang eternally on the walls of the underground world, giving the descendants of those exiled the right to light. This kind of plant has once been analyzed and discussed about in another world. The theory in question here is probably the assimilation of the DNA of a firefly into the DNA of an algae, allowing the fluorescence of the firefly and the light of a plant collaborate together to create an energy cycle flow with minimum loss of energy, effectively creating a self-sufficient system that provides continuous light for the underground. It can be planted in mines to prevent it from collapsing, and one of its derivatives, algae bulb, can be used for illumination in public. Using the luminescent algae source to improve society's energy structure. It may seem wonderful, but the technology hurdle for it is simply too great. Even if we can resolve the gaps in technology, if we forcefully put together the DNA of a plant and animal together, who knows what kind of abomination would be created. In the end, it terminated at its theoretical stage. I didn't expect that the purely theoretical discussion that I saw in the science magazine then actually became something real in a foreign world. Indeed, compared to the limitations of magic and science, the potential of national evolution is boundless. Going by records and research of the scholars on the surface, this kind of bizarre plant that can give out both light and heat would probably have a bunch of prefix and technical jargon that would make one's head spin. But in the underground world, it has a beautiful name that is contrary to its ugly outer appearance: sunflower. TL. Literally flower of the sun. Every underground city is destined to be constructed on grounds where the luminescent algae clusters. If a cluster of luminescent algae is found outside an underground city, this kind of natural light zone will attract countless beasts who would engage in a bloodfest for its ownership. In recent times, a great druid had discovered a way to cultivate the luminescent algae, allowing the scale of the underground city to not be limited by the luminescent algae. However, the primary condition is that one must be able to find an extremely powerful flying beast that is able to fly to the top of the ceiling of the underground world, and a great druid to ride on the beast to plant the seeds. Thus, the cost for expansion is still quite high. Maybe, only an important city like the Platinum City would be willing to spare a large amount of money to breed more luminescent algae to expand the territory of the city. At this moment, looking at the radiance gradually growing brighter at the horizon, the luminescent algae here will start radiating light very soon too. A new day is about to dawn. All physical body requires sleep to recover their fatigue and give their brain a rest. On the contrary, normal undead did not have the concept of fatigue and do not require sleep. Thus, I half-jokingly came up with the name the Indefatigable One, Woomians. But, at the level of the undead lords, a large portion of undead lords began picking up the habit of sleeping again. Some say that it is to recover from their mental fatigue, while others say that temporarily stopping the machinations of their body can allow them to recover mana faster. But, from my research that I did when I was bored, there are much better methods to recover from mental fatigue and recharge mana. There is totally no need to go into deep sleep, make one lose their consciousness and putting oneself in danger. After several experiments, my final conclusion that there are many undead lord who work and rest just like living people. Those with a more complete physical body can even regain their taste buds. Sleeping, to a larger extent, is just a spontaneous habit inside one's soul and effects of the physical body instinctively imitating those functions. That's why abominations, gargoyle, skeleton colossus and other kind of man-made undead beings do not develop little habits that makes them operate like living people, even if they became the intelligent high-tier undead. But then, being curious, I did a little experiment. The reason why an unnatural being like an undead could exist in this world is often because of the crystallization of resentment and hatred. If so, unwilling to pass on like this can also be thought to be a source of power. Then, what if a purely man-made were to start having desires? Will they become strong solely based on their desires? If so, then let me first start with gluttony, which represents the endless appetite. My initial plans were to create the 7 deadly sins and make 7 samples of the experiment. However, I didn't manage to complete the 7 deadly sins, neither did I manage to mass produce them. It isn't because the results of the experiments were unsatisfactory. Rather, it is because the results are too satisfactory. The first sample, Carnivore, the eldest brother of the 7 deadly sins, is already the most fearsome monster in the entire history of undead. Then, as my expertise in necromancy improves, the few deadly sin that I created afterwards became more and more scary. In fact, I was starting to lose control of them. Thus, I felt that if I went on like that, I might end up returning back to my starting point. Sooner or later, I would combine my knowledge of both worlds to create a monster that destroys everything. Considering this, I stopped the experiments. TL, starting point as in becoming a demon king and destroy the world. HMPH, I admit that I don't have much of a talent towards elemental magic. I am also totally unable to comprehend magic resonance and that kind of shit. But, I am able to grasp the feel of necromancy and learn it swiftly. My talent in creating beings is to the extent that I am afraid of it myself. Indeed, crazy scientists are meant to destroy the world. Waking up from a rare dream of the past, I was attracted to the sounds coming from below. The usual ruckus created by the town's security army as they head out and their orderly chants couldn't be heard. It seems that they have all followed my order to enforce the law on the streets. But, there were still some people sparring on the usual training grounds. The narrow space is filled with the marks of ice and fire. But, the people who are involved in the sparring this time weren't just Lisa and Annie. Ice creation, ballista formation. Under Elisa's orders, dozens of ice ballistas all shot their arrows. The spinning ice arrows were all focused on the target in midair. Annie, equipped with a sword, summons wings of flame and swoops down like an enraged fire angel, trying her best to keep her opponent's attention to her. But, even when she made use of the force accumulated from the momentum of her downward motion, her opponent only had to use a finger to lightly deflect her blow to direct the sword to the other side. Due to the massive difference in strength, the god sword can't even scrape the skin. This is the strength difference of between her and her opponent that is a minimum of 2 ranks apart. At this point, the ice arrows are already in the face of Little Red. But, as though not seeing it at all, she simply shakes her head, unsatisfied with the performance of her juniors. Ha! With a loud roar, Annie and Elisa's movements suddenly stop. In the next instant, they started feeling faint from the blast of air. Too slow, too powerless and too weak. Your elements are unrefined and impure and your fighting techniques aren't precise enough. Your movements in attack aren't sharp and your reactions and dodging are slow. There is not a single move you all made that is up to standard and you all still wish to fight on the same stage as me? Dream on. Little Red seems to be really enraged. With a heavy stomp with her long legs, the entire ground trembles and Elisa and Annie, who have yet stabilized their footing, immediately falls down. The ice arrow is now in the face of Little Red. With just a glare, she dissipates the spell midair before it could even touch her skin. Alright, the third sparring, or should I say a one-sided crushing, it didn't even take 2 minutes before it ended. Looks like they have been provoked. That day, there were more than 20 legend rank and a few saint rank of the other party on the negotiation table. On our side, there were only 2 young gold ranks. Despite being future city lords, their power difference is too massive. No matter how open-minded they are, they would still be provoked by such a massive power difference. This is also one of my motive for sending them to negotiate the deal with themselves. Cruel reality is the most direct motivation. If the both of them can really break through like this, We will have 2 more legend ranks on hand and this disadvantageous battle would be much easier to fight. The one watching the show from the window, since you already saw it all, why don't you come down to offer some guidance? I really can't get used to the way you human-shaped beings fight. In this form, I can't even exert half of my battle strength and your rank breakthroughs are really baffling to me, so it is better for you to do the job. TL, dragons don't go by the same route as humans like forming soul imprint. Little Red's nudge made me unable to continue watching the show leisurely. Little Red is an expert at fighting, her experience in battles are plentiful and the effects in her passing on her fighting knowledge is apparent. But, if she is teaching a human, the dragon tribe's growth depends 90% on their talent. She didn't even cultivate her strength to break through before, so how can she become a human's teacher? If she teaches you wing smack, claws, and fang rip, tail sweep and blasting a dragon breath from the sky, can you learn them? It seems that Elisa can really learn some of it, at least she can try learning the tail sweep, but, thinking about the increasingly elusive and violent half-demon maid, I think I better not shoot my own foot. Actually, I can already see the root of the problem of the 2 gold rank pinnacles. Their basics are already there, all that is left is for them to form their soul imprint. That imprint is the crystallization of immortal breaking into the realm of legend, the accumulation of their experiences and strength of this life to form a stepping stone for their entry to higher grounds. Simply said, they are trying to confirm the path for their future development. But it is different when it gets to the specifics. Elisa has too many potential routes, making her extremely indecisive in choosing just one of them. Elisa, race, half-demon blessed by the abyss, strength, 22/agility, 20/stamina, 20/intelligence, 24/charm, 18/will, job, LV60 mage, LV1 law incantation or LV12 ice strider, LV10 sacred pugilist, a battle monk's advancement that specializes in destroying undead/L.V. 5 assassin. Total level, 88, due to lack of soul imprint, total level evaluation is LV79 gold rank pinnacle. TL, pugilist equals boxer, but sacred boxer sounds like the name of some dog, so in the span of a decade, the things she learned is too scattered. There is the ice magic that I imparted to her, her talents as a half-demon that originates from the abyss, the classical magic that Margaret taught her, her self-created wire magic and the thief skills and pugilist techniques that I have no idea where she learned them from. When I saw that her sacred pugilist job, which is well reputed to be an undead killer, actually had 10 levels, my feat immediately lost its strength. Since her basic strength and stats are up to the mark, she could choose any one of the route to enter the realm of legends. But sometimes, having too much choices makes one indecisive. Choosing one would mean giving up the rest, so she is still hesitating. As for Annie, it is because her accumulation is too thin. The Phoenix inheritance made her strength soar at a rate way beyond her accumulation of experience. Find a path that has unlimited potential and suited to her at the same time is quite a difficult hurdle for her who isn't even 20 yet. This is a choice that affects their development in the future, so it is hard for outsiders to assist them. After all, only you would know the path suited for you. This is also the reason why Little Red is at a loss. After all, she can't make a decision for these 2. But for me, it isn't that there isn't any way to help them. While we can't help them make their decision, but we can provide them the experiences of other people when making their choices so that they can analyze other people's path and their experience. This could help them to mature quicker. Going by logic, I, who have entered the legend rank 4 times and formed 4 soul imprints, should have the biggest say. In reality, other than the power of lore represented by the Mark of Justice, the other 3 are exchanged through the cheat-like system using EXP endpoints. And the appearance of the Mark of Justice was even more inconceivable. It is like a complimentary gift by the origin of order after inventing the power of law, thus it cannot serve as a case study. Little Red, tell them the experiences of Adam and Margaret when they broke through into the legend rank. It should quite useful to them. Hey, you were there yourself. Why don't you tell them personally? I forgot and I am lazy to flip my diaries to check it. In order to prevent the loss of memory from death, I have a habit of jotting things down on my diary. To present date, My diaries have filled an entire underground library and this thing has obviously occurred too far back, so it would be troublesome checking it up. Fine, fine, I will say. A voice that is transmitted through telepathic voice spell felt crestfallen somehow. Shaking her head, she pulls up her spirit and little red claps. TL, can't find a word for it. Anyway, the idea should be trying not to be depressed. Pulls herself together along those lines. Margaret's experience in breaking through the legend realm is a little special, so it might not be serve as a good case study. Back then, when we were at Krass Elf Kingdom, we went through much difficulty to gain permission to enter their national library for 3 days. Margaret stayed in there to browse through the books, not wanting to come out at all. In the end, she managed to finish reading through the entire collections of the library within 3 days. By the time she walked out of the library, she was already a legend rank. The reason why she formed the Corridor of Time imprint is just because she purely wants to read more book. Her voice wasn't soft. Not only can the people on the ground level can hear her, even I, who was on the second floor, can hear her voice clearly. Since you have forgotten, allow me to jot your memory a little. Other than looking for information of magic she needs, records on treasures that Lisa wants, data on fighting techniques that Adam needs, and information on god equipment that I desire, she also checked the entire Elf Kingdom's record on the destruction of the Mist Country for you. At that time, you even said that you owe her a very big favor. So, if there is a chance, remember to return the favor. This time, Little Red's voice only sounds out by my side. I was stunned. The Mist Country is my country that was destroyed. Back then, one of my main goals in exploring was to investigate the truth behind its betrayal and the reasons for its destruction. I didn't expect that the information was attained from there. It looks like a person with memory loss will never remember what important memories they have forgot. Death really takes away a lot of things. Just when I was really getting serious in listening to her story, Little Red starts laughing uncontrollably. As for Adam, pooh, that is really a joke. Hearing the name of their almighty city lord, the audience's interest peak. After all, who wouldn't want to know that man's epic adventures in the mortal world? There were many people in the base who were trying their best to stretch their ears to eavesdrop. Back then, our adventuring team offended a bastard city lord who worships a cult. In the end, he sent his underlings to distract our Holy Knight team leader Rollo and warrior Adam while assaulting our temporary base. He kidnapped our mage Margaret and thief Lisa, who were recuperating from their wounds then. He even left a note, declaring that if we don't surrender at some place in some residence, then they will do 20 to our hostage before killing them. Then Lord Adam exploded in anger. He suddenly breaks into the realm of legend and comes with a hero saving the beauty. It might be rather old-fashioned, but it is indeed classical. Perhaps, that is how Lord Margaret fell in love with him. The fast-mouthed Momo and Diana are the only 2 members of the town security who didn't go leisurely walking on the streets. At the moment, they were also listening into the story by the side. Hey, back then, Adam was indeed exploding with anger. He points his sword towards the heavens and howls furiously, "You shameless and despicable bastard! I will shred you into 1,000 pieces just like this paper." Then, he coolly throws the letter into the air and with a flash of the sword, he cuts it into powder. Then, he allows the wind to blow these pieces of the paper freely, incomparably cool. TL, the word used is here means unrestrained and carefree, normally refers to cool people. Afterwards, he met with strong opponents and fought them, breaking through to the legend realm in the middle of the fight? No. The next sentence he said was, "Shit, I haven't even copied down the address. What should we do?" What? At this moment, Little Red was satisfied with the shocked and perhaps, even idiotic face of everyone. Wait, then how did they resolve the situation? Did anything happen to Lord Margaret and that female thief? That can't be. He couldn't be so foolish. What happens next? Shaking her head, her face reminiscent of the past, Little Red continues with her story. Yes, without the address, they lost their clue to saving them. Team leader Rollo was maddened and slapped Adam flying 4 meters away, bumping heavily onto the tree. This was the first time I saw Big Brother Rollo, who was gentle and polite to everyone, angered to such a point. After that, Adam that fool runs out searching everywhere, as though possessed. Did he find it within 3 days? As this matter involves her godfather, who was known to be perfect, Annie is quite curious. No, He only found them on the 5th day. Then. At this point, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that their city lord Adam would have such a dark history. Doesn't this mean that the two hostages have been? But Little Red shakes her head and laughs. What are you all thinking of? Adam may be immature and unreliable, but this doesn't mean that Big Brother Rollo was unreliable too. He spent 2 days 1 night picking up 4,654 paper fragments, or should I say, fragmented powder, from the lake and bush, put them together bit by bit stubbornly and managed to find the address. Then, he rushed all the way, tiring 2 war horses on the journey, and managed to save Margaret and Lisa on time. After a very long time, Adam that fellow then managed to follow the trails of the kidnappers to the location. Isn't he too unreliable? Indeed, after seeing Margaret and the rest still intact, he cried very loudly, just like a baby. Afterwards, after learning from the lesson, he became more reliable. At least he learned to think before moving. Alright, end of story. Ladies, are there anything you comprehended from the story? The two seemingly thinking people nodded their heads and exclaimed at the same time. I didn't expect that Godfather, City Lord would have such a dark history. Wait, you haven't told us how did he break through to the legend rank? Hee, back then, as he hugged everyone crying, he swore to never give up his companions and that he will protect everyone properly. Just like that, he formed his indestructible Phoenix soul imprint, unable to be killed no matter how you hit him, becoming a cockroach true to its name. At this moment, Little Red's face is filled with smiles. Probably, this is how Margaret fell in love with him. After all, every girl would have some expectations for a reliable guardian. No. The one who denied it isn't the person in question but Annie. I once asked Big Sister Margaret why would she fall in love with Godfather. In the end, Big Sister Margaret smiled bitterly and in the end, only left a message back then. He cried too pitifully. I felt like I couldn't leave him alone just like that, otherwise he would cause his own demise one day. Afterwards, when I pressured her on the matter, she refused to tell me more. I guess that cried too pitifully should be referring to this incident. Feels like he can't be left alone, so she put her eyes on him. Afterwards, she unknowingly fell into the trap. Actually, this is quite romantic too. Diana nods her head in agreement, only to see everyone staring at her, surprised. Why? No. It is just that we didn't expect dark elves to have normal values in love. Although this is the common understanding of everyone here, no one said it out loud. Instead, they nod their head in unison. This isn't fair. A cold voice of objection sounds out from the direction of the wall. It is Elisa who had been silent for quite a while. How is it unfair? The reason why they could be saved is obviously because Rollo spent so much effort and energy into it. Then, why did Lord Margaret be thankful to Adam who just made matter worse, and even fell in love with him? Rollo is obviously the one who should be thanked. He stubbornly put together the note and rushed all the way to save his companions, but he didn't receive the thanks that he deserved. This is so unfair. Little Red stuns and stares with a look of shock at Elisa for a long time before being able to squeeze out a word. Back then, Lisa also said the same thing. Afterwards, she started pestering Rollo, but Rollo didn't agree to her. Pester as in, trying to get his fancy. Then, what happened to Lord Lisa and Lord Rollo? Rollo He went missing. He left behind a letter saying that he is going to look for his enemies to exact vengeance. Afterwards, no one knows where he went. However, his defiled body was found afterwards. He was probably converted into some undead being. As for Lisa, she is dead. Dead? At this moment, the eyes Little Red looks at Elisa with was bizarre. Yes, she died in the undead calamity caused by Lord Yang, in the hands of one of the 4 heavenly kings under Lord Yang, Bone Dragon Queen Grey. Sen. Elisa's eyebrows shoot up. She doesn't know about Rollo and Adam's past, but she knows who Lord Yang is. She wanted to say something but since the person in question wasn't bothered about it, she didn't feel like she had the right to interfere. The reason why you are looking at me like this, is it because you have orders for me? No, I am thinking that having bad memories sometimes might not be a bad thing. Choo. Big Sister Grey. Sen, you caught a cold? It is Graya. Undead don't catch cold. It's probably the same as your case, Someone is probably talking about me. Perhaps the Emperor is thinking about me. Quick, ah dang, we are reaching soon. Chapter 46, Greed. Clint is the son of the city lord of Iron City. But, as Iron City is often in a state of war with 4 other underground cities in its vicinity, he spends more than half of his time on the battlefield. Rather than the prince of the city, he is more like a soldier. Despite being a normal human with average height, his 2-meter-tall gray heavy armor covers everything. On the bizarre bird head helmet, a pair of bright eyes could be vaguely seen. Even when he is given the full authority by his father to go to the land without war, Vance, as a diplomat, he decisively brought along his full battle gear. The adamantine heavy armor that never leaves his body is just the configuration. There is still a 3-meter-long gun behind his back, 2 swords and a dwarf pistol by his waist where it is easy to reach out for. The little prince who managed to escape with his life due to luck on the battlefield dozens of times is already used to being in a state ready for battle anytime. Actually, Prince Clint, you don't have to be so wary. In fact, there's no need to make your servant get into a battle formation. This is Vance, the city of platinum where gold can be found all around. This isn't an endless battlefield here, unlike your homeland. The goblin merchant Saros, who is tagging along with him, feels frustrated. He is already regretting his actions of accepting the request to bring Prince Clint to Vance for the Alliance Conference, coveting the small request fee. On the way, he already had enough of that oversensitive nerves of the prince and his war syndrome. It is no wonder why Saros is so unhappy. It is enough that their camping ground is surrounded by goblin mines. In the tent, he placed a few claymores within the tent. Fine, so he should already be safe like that. But, what is the point when you put a dummy on your own bed and sleep on the tree instead? Every morning before the merchant team can set off, they have to spend up to half an hour to find him. Not only that, they also had to be careful of the traps laid around him so as to not get injured from it. While you were asleep, the sentry on night duty tried to cover you with a blanket out of goodwill, but he almost got cut into half by you. Your nerves are really too sensitive. I know that your homeland may be unstable, but you can rest easy here. There is no war here. After a short moment, the Metalkin stretch out his forefinger, swirls it around the air before putting the finger into his mouth. The taste of smoke crawled down. Afterwards, the Iron Giant really falls to the ground and his servant follows suit. It is safe here. The goblin's shriek is still sounding by his ear when 2 crimson red light whizzes past his body. The deadly heat wave that came along with it almost vaporized him. Afterwards, the light of fire starts to spread and the buildings not too far away plunges into a sea of flames. Dragon breath. It should be an adult dragon. Get ready for battle. Clint immediately gets moving together with his servants. He starts to create a temporary base, using his luggage as a blockade and starts assembling his rifles. To enjoy such treatment right after entering Vance City, the goblin Saros is completely astounded. But, this isn't the moment to be in a daze. The next moment, 2 red dragons sweeps past the top of his head. This shows what kind of scary fight they were caught in. The next moment, a deadly flash of darkness cuts across the skyline and the red dragon didn't even have time to groan before it was sent spiraling down to the ground while spilling a rain of dragon blood. Splat! The smashed meat and dragon blood crashes onto the ground right in front of him. The goblin merchant, who was hugging his head with both of his hands, can no longer find the courage to promise the others that this is a safe zone. Following which, another red dragon seems to have seen some kind of nightmare and immediately tries to fly higher and escape. But, a red light similar to the flash of darkness before pierces through its head. Fresh blood splatters everywhere and the headless dragon corpse falls to the ground like a shooting star. Ah! Before Saros's piercing scream could escape fully from his mouth, a large metal hand stuffed it right back into him. Clint shivers as he stares at the sea of flames. It isn't because he was worried but rather, it was the sharp instincts of a prey reacting in alarm to a naturally powerful predator above. In the sea of flames caused by the dragon breath, a slow humongous figure advances gradually. The beastmen that were trying to stop his movements by his side seemed just like small ants in comparison to it. It is more than 30 meters tall and the gigantic pillars of hoofs it is walking with seem to be as sturdy and heavy as metal towers. Every time it moves, the surrounding houses would tremor. The gigantic skeleton beast has 3 heads, all of them made solely of bones. One of them was the head of a giant, one of them a goat-headed demon, and the last, the head of a bone dragon. The goat-headed demon's brain still has black light encircling it, while the mouth of the bone dragon had inferno still lingering in it. At this moment, the head of the giant seems to have just finished its long incantation, and it was time for its performance. Polar storm, the icy plains of giants. Under the curse of the polar giant, snowflakes began falling and the ground started to freeze. Vast ice plains became reality as the legendary homeland of the polar giants was summoned to this ground. In comparison to the polar giant, which had a physical body allowing it to ignore the extreme cold, the beastmen were too weak. They had zero resistance towards the cold and they died frozen as a group. The demonic bone beast Crimspur, the most dangerous mutated bone beast in the world, the sixth sinner of the Ziluo Empire. Why is it here? That diabolical battle form is the best name card for the undead lords. It may seem to be moving very slowly, but in reality, it was a false impression due to its gigantic stature. Within mere seconds, the three-headed bone demon is already right in front of their eyes. The head of the giant even glances at them, but looking at the wary Clint and his guards, he only tilts his chin in scorn and continues moving on. Boom! Boom! Accompanied with the sounds of explosion and earthquake, Crimspur advances towards his next target. We were ignored. We were spared. Let's leave quickly. The sound of the catapults of the beastmen could be heard from afar. The war between a single being and an army continues. No one wishes to become cannon fodder for no reason, so Saros pulled Prince Clint and escapes. 10 minutes passed. The group from Iron City, who had successfully escaped, pants heavily by the side of the road. At this moment, the old goblin has managed to make sense of the situation. Prince, it seems that there are still 3 weeks before the legendary Eternal Night Scepter would be auctioned. That's why the undead lords from the surface are trying to steal it. Hee, our luck is really bad. However, you can rest easy now. The gate that we passed by earlier on is the East Gate, the territory of the Beast Sovereign. The reason why we got entangled in that mess is because the scepter is in his hands. Now that we're out of his territory, you can loosen up. Clint stares quietly at the goblin and points behind him. A bunch of wild beasts were rushing through, sending innumerable passers-by flying and wrecking numerous vendors. The one riding on the head of the bull and leading the way is the Draken Hunter, and chasing at his back are countless pursuers. Bastard, you actually opened all the fences in the zoo and the druid's territory. Did you eat something wrong? You even claimed that you were a vet. Return our animals to us. You scammer. Little Sue, don't be sad. I know that you are disconsolate over your husband's death, but look. Am I not strong? And don't I resemble your husband? Accept me as your alpha wolf and I will treat you sisters well. His expressions and movements in trying to poach them were sincere, making one feel quite moved. But the person he was talking to is a female wolf. He was intending to create a wolf harem. The dumbfounded goblin spent half a day before his spirit floated back into his body. Wiping away the sweat on his forehead, he continues. There are scammers and criminals in every city. Our luck has been terrible, but this city should be mostly safe. Clint shakes his head and points towards another direction. Right there, a bunch of villains were surrounding 2 female elves, and seemed to possess malicious intentions. In the chaotic underground world, such things happen too frequently. Old Saros shakes his head, not intending to interfere and not possessing the strength to interfere as well. What a pity. These 2 are probably ladies of nobility who secretly escaped from home. They are indeed beauties that I have yet to see. It is really such a pity. But in the next instant, he recalls that Clint possesses decent fighting, so it was possible for him to save them. The old goblin sends a gaze of expectation towards him, but the other party simply shakes his head in response. Too many people. Trap. The baits are male. The flabbergasted Saros turns his head back. It was about time to rein in the nets for the trap. A group of dark elf knights suddenly come rushing in from the corners of the road. Incantation of law, judgment. Incantation of law, judgment. This instant, the crowd turns into a sea of red. But the targets of the Justice Knight were the bunch who were the reddest. They must have carried out other crimes on top of this one. Big returns. I knew that putting crows and Victorian up as baits is a good idea. Look, even when the rest of you walk around in provocative clothing, you only end up catching 7 to 8 of them. On the other hand, Despite not putting on makeup and not sending seductive looks around, just by walking around with lowered heads, they managed to catch 300 to 400 of them. Look at those few well-dressed people, they are shining the reddest. They must be veteran scammers and villains. The security here is really bad, there are bastards everywhere. The criminal in front of me, hold it right there. You are almost purple from all of the red and you still dare to creep away. I will give you 3 seconds to stop, otherwise I will slash you. You still dare to run. Try my rotten shoe strike, Bozie's on. Oh, wrong one, demon destroying strike, Bozie's on. Wrong one again. Sin splitting strike. Zanzuiji, TL. The rotten shoe strike is the traditional skill which a woman takes off her shoe and throws it at the man. HMPH, to say the truth, it is a little depressing to lose in femininity to a man. However, losing to the #1 beauty of the judiciary, Crows and Victoria, I don't even feel a tinge of sadness. Have you seen any women who are more beautiful and feminine than them? Right, this must be the highest record for our catch. Who is the one with the lowest record? Say it out so that everyone can laugh about it. Vice Captain Yuan, 1. Captain Diana, 0. As expected of our big sisters, they are really masculine such that those scums don't even dare to come near them. Pooh. They are really pitiful. Even Momo attracted 16 of them. Big sister always have a solemn face that scares away others. Coupled with the pressure as a legend rank and her epic class weapon, her result is quite normal. I think the most pitiful one is still second sister. She speaks like a man and looks like a man. No wonder people call her buddies with the saber. So it was actually another way of saying that she doesn't have any suitors. Right. This joke is also not bad. Let's tell it to the rest when we get back, it is more fun laughing together as a group. TL, buddies with the saber, refers to someone who is a weapon maniac. Momo, Vice Captain Yuan is behind you. Ali, you tricked me. Second sister, I am just joking. Come on, give me a smile. Why are you drawing your saber? Looking at these female knights with silver light radiating from them, the old goblin was quite astonished. That is obviously the power of order. It can't be that there are actually holy knights coming from the evil dark elves. Then again, the holy light should be gold in color, so this is really confusing for him. Very apparently, these knights are different from normal holy knights. They actually ignore the demon progeny and necromancers they meet by the road. These were enemies that holy knights would go all out and fight to the death against upon meeting. This time, the old goblin could only mumble to himself. Change is happening too fast. But at least, the goblins should still be normal. This time, Clint points towards another direction. There, gnomes and goblins were testing out a rocket car with a gigantic rocket tied to it. The sight of harmony between the two races, in the eyes of Saros, is like a bolt out of the blue. What kind of joke is this? Goblins are actually working together with those ugly dwarves. These goblin traitors, let old Saros fix you all. Just as he is about to go up to challenge them, he is stopped by his companions. It is fortunate that he was stopped, because just as the rocket car starts to move, it starts flying upwards above everyone's head until it turns into a shooting star, until it reaches the ceiling of the roof. After that, with a loud bang, it turns into fireworks. It is all because that old bull is too heavy. That's why we set the horsepower too great such that it flew up instead. We need a much lighter experiment subject, no, I mean pilot. Lo, isn't it about time to show your willingness of you goblins to sacrifice everything for the development of engineering? The best contribution I can make towards goblin engineering is my survival. Where can I find a dumb goblin? Oh, this friend here, are you interested in the goblin rocket car? Very apparently, if he were to nod his head now, then Saros's 30 years of experience as a merchant would be in vain. It took him a lot of effort to shake off the annoying goblin engineer. Old Saros's face is filled with exhaustion as he sat on the step of stairs, smoking his pipe. This world is really changing too fast. Maybe, there would be a bunch of lunatics running nude the next moment. Eagle Storm and his tribesmen runs across the sight of the group. As quickly as they came, they left. Lightly waving their hands, they bid farewell to the dumbfounded audiences. They didn't take away any fanfare, nor did they leave anything behind. They aren't even wearing anything, So what can they leave behind? The old goblin rubs his eyes in a daze. Inconceivable, what I say really comes. Is it possible that we might even meet with the senators from the Undead Empire? Not too far away, the sounds of the hoofs of a horse could be heard. Ah dang, do you really feel something? We have been looking a week now. Is our emperor really in this city? Appa is here, Ah dang is sure. The two undead senators walk past them, riding a skeleton horse. Black sclera, white pupils, it is the Bone Dragon Queen. Wait, even if titans were to appear in front of me now, I won't be surprised too. Pa. Following the loud boom, the T-stand in front of them was reduced to flat ground. A gigantic metal titan walks past them. At the back of the robot titan, large words Roland Titan were shining. Shut up. This time, even the reticent Clint couldn't stand the inauspicious mouth of the old goblin. Thanks to the effort of those troublemakers, a large portion of the attention on us has been diverted away. Our secret interactions with the other underground city lords were quite successful. There are already more than 27 underground cities that are willing to support us in the Alliance Conference. This afternoon, we will be getting in touch with 3 more factions. One of them is the underground autarch Kedur. You must meet with him personally. Also, the prince named Clint seems to be quite imminent. He has expressed goodwill towards us, so it would be best if you meet him personally as well. I nod my head, expressing my approval. It is about time for me to meet personally with Edur. Also, the Iron City was said to be a city comprising many different races. I was interested in the city from the start, so there is no harm meeting him. Within a week of entering the city, the Dark Elf Knight Army's demonstrations of the power of law in public made it into treasure coveted by many city lords. Using this as a bargaining chip, the meetings for alliances were quite successful. Noting my agreement, Elisa continues her report. Within a week, the Lion King residence has been destroyed 12 times. There is not a building left there now, only a gigantic pit remains. The latest news, the 6th Senator Crimspur has appeared along with his old partner, Ant King of Corrosion Lamost. Has the undead lord crossed swords with the underground autarch yet? Not directly. It seems that both sides are still testing each other. Crimspur has destroyed 2 military barracks in the Beastman district and an entire street. But, only Molly's red dragons counterattacked. Furthermore, there were only 2 young dragons that weren't of age, so. Destroyed in one blow, huh? It's normal. Crimspur is an undead of the previous generation that survived the last sacred war. He has been staring ambitiously on the seat of the undead emperor for a long time, so it won't be easy to deal with him. However, he should have already received results from his probing. It seems like the scepter should be in the hand of the Dragon Empress, otherwise Molly wouldn't be willing to send young dragons to serve as cannon fodder. TL, destroyed in one blow. Greater than little means getting killed in seconds. It looks like we must reassess the relationship between the Dragon Empress and the Lion King, to think that he would be willing to lend the scepter to the other party to research. Looks like their alliance is much stronger than we thought. Rest easy, everything is within control. I laugh maniacally, but Elisa seems to be a little restrained. Master, there are some things which I don't know whether I should say. Do I seem like a petty person? Go ahead. We have no money. If you don't start thinking of an idea, we might end up living on the streets. What? Hearing this, I exclaimed in shock. I remember that the funds I brought should be sufficient for us to live here for 3 years. You remember telling those fellows that they can call for backup anytime they want if they find themselves on the losing side? They really did it. They called for backup more than 60 times this week. The depletion of magic stones, the replacement of the machine's parts, and even the acquirement of new machines to replace the destroyed ones. This adds up to a massive sum, and we didn't take these into account when calculating our budget. I nod my head, expressing my acknowledgement towards Elisa's report and the additional expenses. Previously, we didn't expect that we would be able to prepare so many Rolands, so it is very normal for us to overspend. Engineering is a job that burns money, and those big robots are even better at burning money. To face monetary crisis in such a short period of time, I guess it made logical sense. Fortunately, I made additional preparations. Come over here, let me introduce you to my new treasure. It is called Greed, isn't it cute? On the experiment desk, There is a transparent bottle. Within the bottle, a bizarre and slimy liquid is thrashing about. It seems to be trying to break through the seal of the bottle, but it is sent flying back due to the lightning shock from the seal of the bottle. Really, really gross. White and sticky. It is indeed the same good that you use for thinking. Elisa says with a look of despise. She is just mocking me for using my lower body to think. I have already experienced this kind of level of venomous tongue many times when my collections were revealed, such that I am already numb to it. Instead, I laugh gleefully. That is because you don't know how useful it is. Don't judge it by how small it is. I only have to assimilate it into the waterways of this city and it will start cloning itself rapidly, forming countless clones. Within a few hours, this milk-white slime would fill up the pipes and drainage system of the city. Extremely disgusting. I beg of you to stop talking. What exactly do you intend to do? HMPH, you really aren't good at appraising things. It is called greed. It instinctively looks for gold coins, swallow them and bring them back to the main body. This way, we would be able to solve our financial problems. Usually, even if there's an ultimate treasure that is to be auctioned, the auction house would normally bring out a few items of equal level to hype up the crowd. I do not expect to meet another god equipment, but as long as the Lion King hopes to retain his pride, he would definitely bring some good stuff to the auction. Thinking about the auction that is about to be held, I intend to gather more money so as to buy some local specialty. Ever since I dreamed about my experience in creating Odang the last time, I focused my attention on getting my hands on the ingredients required for my specialty, undead creation. And greed here is the result of my hard work for an entire week. Mutated slime, greed/tribe, undead slime /1 point in all stats /race talent, targeted devour, fiber decomposing secretion, rapid cloning /system evaluation. Extremely dangerous. Please destroy its main body as soon as possible. If you were to lose control of this being, not mentioning this entire city, the entire underground world might disappear. As a side note, please stop creating beings. Your talent in this aspect is totally wrong. If you were to continue on this route, you might destroy the entire world even before the calamities strike. Seems contradictory? Its abilities are obviously trashy, but it actually generates so much fear in the system. It is an existence hovering between life and death. To all beings, the simpler their demand is, the stronger the desire for it. This greed represents avarice. In my settings, gold coins, mithril and different kinds of precious metal is the reason for its existence. The simpler the being is, the easier for it to reproduce. The expenditure in cloning a single cell organism is very low. Following the settings of its creator, greed will clone itself frantically to steal gold coins. It has no attacking ability whatsoever. The only thing it can do is to invade vaults with iron-tight defense, decompose the sacks that are full of treasure and steal the gold coins and expensive metals. However, I can understand the system's concern as well. If greed were to lose control, as long as it reproduces to a certain point, the countless slimes could take over all the living space, leaving no space for other beings. Of course, the precondition is that there is no limit to its cloning. Look, its main body is in this bottle. I will only release a tenth of it, so their reproduction ability and its size will be limited to a tenth of the original. Also, their lifespan will be limited, so they will all die within 2 days. At most, it will only be a gold coin thief. While explaining, I carefully release greed into the waterworks. Suddenly, a wind blows and somehow, my nose, which should be devoid of any senses, feels itchy. Ah! Who is gossiping about me? Master. Elisa's shout made me regain my focus. But, half of the main body of greed had already been released into the drainage. Very soon, it will follow this 1,000-mile-long ancient drainage system and clone itself in the waterways. Then, it will swiftly invade the entire city. Calm down, there is still half left. Greed will only be slightly stronger than expected. How much stronger? Will it hurt anyone? It will be slightly bigger by 5 times than expected, slightly bigger than the size of a human. Following their intelligence setting, it might change its attacking pattern to swallowing a person and disintegrate their clothing while taking all the metal away from them. Calm down, I have adjusted the settings properly. Greed definitely will not harm any beings, it will leave after swallowing clothes. Swallowing clothes? The entire city? A terrifying image appears in Elise's mind. Countless eagle storms and xuites dancing around in a circle, and more perverts started joining them. Master, please research a way to destroy this demon from its root quickly. Chapter 47, Messing with the Situation. The biannual Alliance Conference, which should have been held the next week, has been postponed indefinitely due to some overwhelming circumstances that cannot be resolved. The reason? The empty streets in the city is the reason. The streets, which should have been filled with crowds of people, is completely empty. The single being that could be seen is a meter-tall transparent slime. Ah, don't come over, I am only here to sell my vegetables. Yet another innocent victim is born. After the slimes were satisfied after their assault and leaves, a naked beast Mananti runs in a frenzy with her basket in hand. Her royally flaps trembles around vigorously and sweat drips down like the rain. Wherever she passes by, sounds of vomiting could be heard. It is the third time for that female hippo beast man. It probably isn't an accident. I guess this incident gave some people an opportunity to release the wildness within them. Due to the sudden rampage of the mysterious slimes, the internal workings of Vance City paralyzes. These little things aren't difficult to deal with. Even though slimes have high resistance against physical attacks, but they have almost zero resistance towards magic and the divine arts. In the underground world where experts could be everywhere, they aren't that difficult to deal with. However, even if you can deal with one, can you deal with 10, deal with 100? Deal with 1000? This toy is almost endless. Furthermore, if you accidentally allow it to close in on you, your armor would be reduced to spare parts in an instant and taken away. Your clothes would disintegrate, not leaving a single cloth behind. Being fully nude, how much of a fighting prowess would you still have? That's right, no matter how strong you are, as long as you dare to wear clothes on the street, you would definitely be suppressed by the slimes immediately with their overwhelming population and become totally nude. There is a mage who created a firewall by his side, protecting himself within the high temperature of the inferno. In the beginning, he managed to get rid of quite a few slimes who pounced on him. But after 6 hours, he still ran out of mana and ended up like a newborn baby. But, his experiment proved that this being is brainless and their numbers are innumerable. Fortunately, their weakness is found very quickly. They can disintegrate the fibers of cloth and take away metal, but they aren't able to do anything about wood. In fact, they seem to instinctively fear it. As long as you leave a wooden pole on the window, doors and circle a piece around your taps, they will retreat immediately. The back door left by a certain lich, TL, crap, they come out from your taps. But, this doesn't solve the root of the problem. After all, you can't really go on the street wearing a bunch of wooden sticks. Thus, the entire city retreated in the face of these small slimes and went into a bizarre paralysis. They aren't interested in humans who are nude, but not everyone can awaken to their new self like that hippo Andy. The life of the citizens became inconvenient, but in this instant, a group of warm-hearted young people pushed a wooden cart and walked fearlessly naked on the street. They helped other people to purchase their groceries and run their errands. Also, they allow people to pay on tab and even recruit volunteers into their team. The natural body that God gave us is perfect and flawless. The unnatural clothes are an original sin. What wrong is there in releasing ourselves, simplified as the release of the Heaven's Body group? They took this opportunity to spread their beliefs. If you join in the group now, you get the right to purchase a wooden pushcart at members' price, only limited to one per person. When more and more young people started to acknowledge those bizarre teachings, they treated this slime as a kind of heavenly punishment passed down that target clothes, an unnatural creation. The release of the Heaven's Body, whose core group is the Wild Bull Alliance, grew at a fearsome rate as innumerable people who are aiming for the business opportunities, those who awakens to a certain instinct, and even the young people who acknowledges this bizarre cult started walking around the street naked to fight for their future wealth or their teachings. Even so, the losses in this catastrophe were still quite great. Before the weakness of the slimes were exposed, there were many vaults and rich merchants who fell prey to the slimes. A certain lich, why should we announce the weakness? We should give it some time first so as to earn more right. Vertical bar a certain maid, shut up. Hurry up and research on how to solve this problem from the root. Isn't solving the problems that you stir up yourself one of your known sayings? Ben's city was unable to function as per normal. At the very least, The Alliance Conference has been postponed indefinitely. The faces of the nude underground city lords seem to be like countless laughing faces that were mocking at the dignity of the underground autarchs. When the autarchs' patience finally reached the limit, they even proposed completely destroying the whole city and its underground works before rebuilding the entire city. However, a sudden rumor spreads around the entire city, bringing a surge of joy across the entire city: the release of the Heavens Body Group's leader Great Druid and their authoritative old physician, specializes in treating beasts. Herald had did their research and found out that these slimes only have a lifespan of 10 days. Within 4 to 5 days, they should start withering as a group. The entire city went into celebration, but no one seemed to question why two unknown rookies were able to come up with such a conclusion when the top mages were at a loss with this current catastrophe. But, the one who gave the biggest sigh of relief should be the Lion King himself. When the conference of the Alliance is postponed, the responsibility is shared by everyone. However, if the auction is unable to carry out as promised, the contract of the devils would be enforced and he might end up pulled straight to the river Styx, ending it all for him. Oh, I could actually still do that. I clapped my hands together in realization. There was such an easy method to get rid of the Lion King, but I accidentally let the opportunity slip past me. Actually, it still isn't too late. If I release the remains of greed down, then it will cause another 10 days of catastrophe? No. It will become greed in its perfect form. Its individual strength would at least be increased by tenfolds and there would be no limit to its longevity. If this goes on forever, the Lion King would definitely be unable to hold the auction. Rejected. The underground world will be destroyed like this. Wearing a bikini created by two banana leaves, her both hands are hugging her chest to prevent exposing her little tail keeps on knocking against the ground, causing a ruckus. It looks like the recent happenings had made Elisa become extremely irritable. TL, no idea what is the silk that has been worked on, fiber clothing that did not cover the back, rattan and leaves shirt, they have all become the latest fashion trend. What? We seem silly for stepping onto our own trap. Hey, if other people suffered from the trap that we laid but we don't fall for it, doesn't it obviously show that we were the one who set up the whole incident? Furthermore, my creations aren't that useless and weak. They wouldn't let you all go just because you all are my comrades. This isn't something to be proud about. Why do you still have clothes to wear? Yes, in the entire base of Sulphur Mountain City, as the catastrophe hit us extremely early, it started the moment I threw greed in. We are actually pretty badly affected by the catastrophe and there aren't many here who have leaves shirt to wear. Only I am left with my clothes intact. Do you want to listen to the truth or lies? The lie is that my clothes are a semi-god class equipment, so they aren't able to get near. As for the truth, they are unable to disintegrate high tier equipment, but this doesn't mean they will stop their attack. The reason why my entire body is so slimy is because of their secretion which is unable to destroy my clothes. The truth is that they remember that you are their father, so they won't attack you? No, how can my creations have such a foolish weakness? Their ability to attack comes from their instincts, they do not discriminate against their enemy. Look, this is a wood shaving spray. It is a product from dissolving wood into a solution. As long as you spray it on your body, the slimes, who fear wood, would definitely stay away. Hey, I'm sorry for telling you about this, but we are all civilized people so let's not get violent. Put down the leg of that table. Alright, under the threat of violence, I admit that it isn't that I forgot to tell them about it but rather, it is for my eyes feast. But, my honesty only ends up bringing about Elisa's rage and landed me in jail. Coming right after is the long-awaited communication through wrestling. After a moment, the panting Elisa sits on my spine and asks the me who is lying on the floor. Have you researched out the way to end this catastrophe? I have researched it. Stop bending it, my old bones are about to break. Then why don't you stop the slimes? Is it because you feel sorry for them? It will take at least a week to collect the ingredients required to make the necessary arrangements. I swear to the river Styx that I definitely am not lying this time. It takes 1 week for the antidote to come out, but 5 days later, the slime calamity has ended by itself. What she did, forcing her master to research the antidote, was in vain. This series of equation links up in her mind. Then, the maid rages. Kaka. This is the crisp sound of the breaking of Elise's sanity and my thigh bones. That day, I managed to experience firsthand how powerful a half-demon is coupled with a Saint Pugilist job, its fearsome physical abilities. I am not so foolish as to place the main body of greed in the camp. That is equivalent to waiting for people to trace the stolen goods back here. The main body has been placed in the deepest area of the waterworks and countless of its children serves as its guards. Out of expectations, there was an additional volunteer guard. When the first gold coin is brought back to the main body, the first one to find her way to the main body is Little Red. When she got the details of the story, she immediately requests to serve as the guard of the treasure vault, the reason being, I am used to sleeping on treasure. I have been insomniac for so many days, it's about time for me to have a good nap. Fine, I know that it is an excuse. Going by our unspoken rules, since she was willing to put in effort, she would be entitled to half of it as a welcome present. However, with her guarding the main body, I feel at ease. At least, if she really meets with an extremely powerful opponent that isn't easy to deal with, Little Red's speed in running is extremely worth trusting. Now, the only thing that we have to be worried about is how to sell the goods afterwards. However, in the underground world, this is the thing that we need not worry about. Alright, since everything is in place, the last thing that we need to settle is the Alliance Conference. When the slime army starts to wither and die as predicted, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The underground autarch swiftly sends invitation letter for the Alliance Conference. The gathering of primitives. Can those underground city lords do the hula dance? Hula. When the street vendors start to discuss vehemently over this topic, appropriate clothing were sent soon after the invitation letter, making those unfortunate underground city lords feel thankful towards the thoughtful organization while heaving a sigh of relief. In the market now, clothes that still could be wear had long shot up to sky price, it would be difficult to purchase them. But at this moment, the good that were the best seller weren't the lacking clothes, but information on the study of power of law. Still worried about the invaders and demonic beasts that keep harassing you? There is the nemesis of those who break the law here, the senior of the holy light from the same sect. Even undead, monkeys and half-demons can grasp this power of the new generation, power of law. It doesn't cost 3 to 4,000, it doesn't cost 1 to 2,000 either, it is yours for 998 for real. Exquisite workmanship with 99 main functions. Communicating with the origin of order doesn't require money, and learning how to control the spells don't require money either. Furthermore, the spells sparkle. Stop hesitating, head on over to Sulphur Mountain City's Envoy base to reserve and purchase it. Exquisite workmanship, greater than literally means the skills required to create the hearts and arrows. Furthermore, the first 100 buyers will receive a second chance at lottery. The top prize is the God Equipment scattered page of the Codex. We will send it straight to your house and even tutor you for free. Hey, do you know how to judge? Judgment. Mama, you don't have to worry about my spell incantation failing anymore. Granny, my dream of becoming a holy knight has been realized. Not a typo. Power of law is trustworthy. In order to make it convenient for our big customers to comprehend and wield it, other than the basic 998 package, we even prepared a 9998 deluxe package for the noble you. Of course, if you feel like that this is unfitting of your high social position, we also prepared a 19,998 perfect luxurious package, which comes along with a lottery card, allowing you to join in the lottery for the God Equipment scattered page of the Codex. What are you hesitating about? Our address is Vance 32nd District, Haran Road number 88, first come first serve. While stocks last. Striking it rich, I started to look forward to the auction and the Alliance Conference that was around the corner. Master, didn't you just bring a few hundred identical information books? Those deluxe and perfect luxurious version. It is all the same, all the same. Aren't you afraid that they might get even with you? Elisa, you are still too inexperienced. You have to think about the mindset of those underground city lords when they purchase goods. Those underground city lords who are willing to fork out 998 diamonds to purchase the information don't really bother much about spending another 9,000. What? You thought that it was 998 gold coin and not diamonds? Release. Chase this villager away. When this word is spoken, those rich suckers who value their face will eat it no matter how expensive it is. Do you know what is an overlord and a little zhong? An overlord is someone with great wealth, the big boss. No matter what they buy, they will choose to buy the most expensive one rather than the best one. It is because they have a reputation to uphold. Look, all four of the underground autarchs bought the perfect luxurious version, right? They can't afford to let anyone see them buying the normal deluxe version. Thus, our motto for ourselves is that we don't go for the best but the most expensive. Once our business is done, we won't have to open our shop for 10 years. TL, little Jean, greater than means someone who is ambitious and ruthless. You are really scheming. Thanks for your compliments. Chapter 48, The Circles of Nobles sure is messy. After thousands of years of reparations and restructuring of the city, the multiracial city Vance underwent thousands of years of change. Its streets are messy without order. The districts which were once defined clearly through squares and rectangles changed completely after numerous expansions of the city. The gnomes who came to the city built their alchemy experimental lab, engineering experimental lab, and a large-scale racing track. The beastmen brought along their coliseum where fresh blood and glory could be found. With the arrival of the elves, theaters and man-made jungles starts materializing in the city. The mages appeared together with their high-rising mage towers that reaches the clouds. On the both sides of the streets, infrastructure of different cultures from different eras could be seen. The solemn dwarfs Baroque-style buildings, the mysterious and sorrowful dark elves Gothic-style buildings, the gnome-style buildings that were infused with metals and the smell of smoke, and even the recent times serene rural-style buildings by the surface elves due to the druid and black shamans residing in this city. Perhaps, the equally diverse Sulphur Mountain city might have the potential and liveliness to become a similar well-known historical city. But in the face of this ancient city, it is still too young and impetuous now. The buildings of the new generation intertwine with those that has settled down in history. The different tribal styles of the accessory and the special products sold by the street vendors could also be treated as a beautiful scenery. The charm in this ancient city forged by the assembly of many different traces cannot be denied. From another perspective, this shows the ancientness and the changes in the city of Platinum. In current times, as eras changed, the original orderly design has totally disappeared. Time and history has changed the different districts into countless word shape and a disorderly picture of a valley on the map. As the Alliance chose to station their headquarters here, more and more race and underground cities chose to dominate a plot of land in this city. Facing a city that is changing every day, even the old Vancians who had been living here their entire life cannot be sure how many different races or their unique buildings are here or which alley would lead to where. TL probably looks something like this. But, there is a place here where all Vancians will never forget, the Platinum Chapel. Of course, the reason has to do with the large surface area it takes up and the 7 tall mage towers in the vicinity. Since it can be seen from every single corner of Vance City, it is impossible to forget it. It was once called the residence of the King of Platinum, well known for its extravagance in history. At that time, the underground autarch who rules over this city and hundreds of other underground cities in the vicinity suddenly gets a stroke of inspiration and used up a hulking amount of money to build this city within a city that is more than 6 kilometers long. In fact, to be true to its name with its name, Mithril platinum is used to play at the outer walls. Under the rays of light, the castle shines, seeming like the homeland of the angels in the castle of clouds. Within it, jewels and treasures were glowing by the streets, beauties in file were all around, ready to serve, and the pond of wine and forest of meat were prepared every day. TL, file is a type of fabric similar to silk. Fine. Let's not mention about how that fellow ruled oppressively and overtaxed the population, or how the resentment of the public accumulated against him and he was overthrown. The hero who ruled the days then had been reduced to just bone ashes. But, the Platinum Chapel that he left behind became the symbol of Vance City. Even if the extravagant plating of precious metal has been long scraped away and the walls are filled with vine-like magical plants, but that humongous and luxurious palace still remains as Vance and the underground world's most beautiful palace. The underground world today isn't like back then, when the Platinum King was the only big faction. The 4 underground autarchs restraining each other keeps Vance in a state without a city lord. No one dares to claim ownership of this palace, but today, It is about to be used once again. It is the location for the Alliance Conference, and in fact, its scale would be much larger than when the palace was in its peak condition. The fireworks in the sky never stopped as griffins and scorpion-tailed lions walked to and fro welcoming guests. The majestic gigantic dragons could only serve as the sentry and door guards for the gathering. Each and every carriage were pulled by powerful magic beasts. The ingredients for the food on the lunch table were all precious top-tier magic beasts. The attending underground city lords were full of experts. True to the saying, saints are everywhere and legends are like dogs. Maybe there isn't the luxurious and wealth of a human kingdom, but in the underground world where the strong reigns supreme, they use their own way to decorate this biannual conference. The author really likes to use this saying, although it sounds so awkward in English. Despite coming pretty early, it is already crowded everywhere. The event location is split into 3 main districts. The outer district is the outer area of the Platinum Chapel. Normal civilians are allowed to enter, and this is where the guards of the city lords will stand on guard. There are also many different kinds of activities and performance here. The buffet setup would at least remain for an entire week. The middle district is where the city lords of smaller cities and well-known heroic figures will hold a drinking party for 3 days straight. As for the inner district, it is also where the session would be shortest. Within 2 days, the different influential figures from different places will wreak havoc with their arguments. More than 10 Roland robots walk together, their footsteps in sync, creating a light earthquake with every step. The carriages in front are forced to give way to us. A gigantic metal-backed demi-dragon who blocked the way with his gigantic bottom was lifted up and kicked away by Roland number 2 like a metal ball. I wouldn't waste money for nothing. Although they could only be placed on the grounds outside of the outer district, it was perfect to showcase our might. Very few underground city lords have good temper, so there were many sparks on the road. The security personnel also tacitly remained silent. On our road here, we saw quite a few duels, and among them, there were no lack of legend rank fighters. In truth, the reason why a large portion of city lords brought their strongest guards were to showcase their might and for their security. The underground autarchs, even more so, aren't able to skip by that tradition. There were already 7 to 8 red dragons guarding the gates, an obvious show of power by Molly. By the way, Little Red should have come, but as she was unwilling to give up her bed, give up those treasures, I could only send her a signal to come when I require her presence when signing the Alliance Pact. But when Molly saw us, she heaves a sigh of relief. She knows the personality of her daughter. If she were to get group lynched in the middle of the meeting, then she wouldn't know where to put her face. Or, could it be that the bunch of red dragons at entrance are used to block Little Red from entering? Somehow, I feel like I got a glimpse of the truth. Hi, old lady, I am here. How have you been these days? Starting a battle and the duration of the conference is forbidden. Those who break this rule becomes the public enemy of the Alliance, but this doesn't stop me from taunting them. Or rather, in such an occasion where everyone can only move their mouths, it is more convenient for me to attack them verbally. As I started the topic of how the experience they had these few days, the beautiful face of the Dragon Queen immediately distorts in anger. Of course I know that they haven't been well these few days. After all, they suffered multiple attacks from thieves, underground city lord and even undead lords. Even if they have many hidden aces, but how can they take proper precautions when everyone is the enemy? It must have been suffocating to live like a rat crossing the street. Rat crossing the street, greater than means someone which everyone hates. He looks like the 6th senator has appeared. It is fortunate that the first 3 aren't here. If they came, I probably won't be seeing you all now. How is the ant poison from Lamost? You must be dying from the excruciating pain. From the outer appearance, the Dragon Queen is a red-haired beauty. However, she brought a pair of black gloves which extends all the way to her shoulders, and her fur coat covers her entire upper body. This style of dressing is vastly different from her usual. It is apparent to see that she is wounded. Furthermore, I heard that she crossed blades with Lamost yesterday, so it is very possible for her to have been afflicted by that deadly plague like ant poison. I am purposely jabbing at where it hurts. The word used is? Which the first one means ant, but the word also means formic acid, which is secreted by ants. Of course, Molly was so enraged that her magic tattoo starts to deforming. But then, she grinds her teeth and tolerated it. Grabbing over a cocktail from the tray of the servants, She swallows it in one shot and left a word behind before leaving. You won't be gleeful for long. I immediately reply to her taunt. Right, your daughter says that she wants to beat you up. Remember to bring more bodyguards along, the bunch at the door isn't enough for her to beat. I purposely said it loudly. The surrounding underground city lords were surprised that there was someone who dared to challenge the Dragon Queen. Even more inconceivable, the Dragon Queen merely grinds her teeth and leaves, not even returning the taunt, seeming to accept reality. Uncle Bones, if you taunt her like that, won't she obstruct our entry into the Alliance? Will she not obstruct us if we don't mock her? Since we are destined to offend her, we might as well just go through with it. Besides, in the underground world, only those who are strong will be respected. We might have offended the Dragon Queen, but at the same time, we would receive the goodwill of her enemies. Look, the bald fatty there is smiling so happily. The bald fatty that I just mentioned is currently chatting happily with Kaja. Seeing that I am here, he waves his hand and gestures for me to come over. Shock gasps could be heard everywhere. Not mentioning how we just triumphed verbally over the Dragon Queen, just the invitation from the underground autarch is sufficient for us, the group of freshmen to be on the headlines. Einsterna.edu, his body is round and almost devoid of any hair. From afar, he seems quite similar to a moving boiled egg, but there weren't any who dared to express such an opinion out loud. In response to the invitation, I retreated instead to allow Annie to fulfill her responsibilities. Due to the recent chaos, Annie had many opportunities to fight. Also, due to there being many people taking the initiative to assault her, there are some improvements in her strength. After listening to the experiences of her godfather during his breakthrough, she seems to have grasped onto something. It wouldn't be weird if she were to break through anytime soon. But, compared to the fast progressing Annie, Elisa behind my back was somehow solemn. Different from Annie, who has taken up the role as the future city lord of Sulphur Mountain City, Elisa is unsure of what she wants exactly, and it is impossible to enter the realm of legends with doubts about the future you wish to walk on. These few days, she had been quite silent and irritable. Don't think too much into it, you are good the way you are now. Even if the words of the outsiders aren't useful to the ones choosing their path, but I couldn't help but to say these useless words. My consolation makes Elisa jolt suddenly. She seems to be on the verge of saying when ding ding ding, the sound of the bell echoes. A bunch of colorful flags hangs in sky along with the firework, and the chatter outside was so loud that even the heavens tremor. The conference begins. Let's go in. Looking at the underground city lords who start swarming into the inner district, I also hurry my footsteps. I can't leave Annie to attend the conference by herself in the inner district. I propose to form an alliance army to completely wipe away the spies sent by tailless monkeys on the surface. The furious howl of the Lion King reverberates in the large hall. Those eyes of fury stares at me. It was obvious he was talking about when he mentioned the spies. Even their city lord is a human hero from the surface. Whose side are they actually on? What rights does Sulphur Mountain City has to join the alliance? Aren't they just intending to join in as a spy? I propose that we kick them out. Whoever who opposes my suggestion will be enemy of the Dragon City. The Dragon Queen's threat is very direct and effective. Offending the Dragon City means represents all of the subordinate dragon tribes under the Dragon City, and that isn't something small. As expected, the moment the conference starts, before we could even be introduced to join the alliance, the Lion King and the Dragon Queen starts shooting at us. But, looking at this situation, I am so happy that I smiled. Then, let's treat it as the first matter at hand. All of the city lords, please make your decision. What that surprised the Lion King and the rest is that Kaja and Edu didn't try to stop them, but rather, they even proposed to vote on the matter directly. Following which, a shocking sight appears. If a matter were to receive over half of the votes of those present here, it could be passed. However, in the big hall filled with a few thousand people, only a few hundred people raised their hands in agreement. Alright, the first proposal is rejected. At this point, they would really be dumb if they don't get that something is amiss. The Dragon Queen and Lion King stares at each other with astonishment and disbelief on their face. The underground cities tend to be quite far from each other, and many of the alliance members have deep-seated grudges against each other, So the Underground Alliance was originally built as a loose organization. Even the Underground Autarchs don't dare to say that they have definite control over their own supporters. But now, even the underground city lords with good relationship with them gave up on their rights to vote. What exactly is going on? They have expected Sulphur Mountain City to try their best to pull the other underground city lords to their side. But, these underground city lords are arrogant and aloof, and they are quite far away from one another, so it is a daunting task to try to bribe them. Quite far as in the distance. These few days, they became the thorn in the eye of everyone else. They couldn't spare any attention to set up obstacles for Sulphur Mountain City. From a certain sense, my goal for throwing out the scepter has been met. Edu nods his head and continues. Alright then, Kaja and I will be proposing the second matter. We want to accept Sulphur Mountain City as one of us and give it a status equal to Mishu, Lord Dragon Empress. Kaja and I, yes. We might have another alliance vice head. After this proposal was said, a commotion breaks out in the hall. The position of an underground autarch isn't something the alliance can decide, but if this proposal is passed in the conference where all powerful underground city lords attend, then there's no difference between Sulphur Mountain City and the other autarchs. As for the alliance vice head, it is just an official way of calling an autarch. This matter is more important, so going by the rules, we require more than 80% of the members to not disagree. It will be an anonymous vote so everyone can rest easy and just vote as you wish. No one felt that this incredulous proposal would be passed, except for me. I told Kaja and Dedur, this proposal definitely won't be passed. After proposing this, if we take a step back and propose something less extreme, it would be easier for it to be passed. Give us a hand, we need an explosive entrance. To repay you both, we will. Those in favor, 110 votes. Hearing this vote number, the Lion King and Dragon Queen's face are full of smiles, their gazes full of contempt against me, as though saying a countryside bum wants to ascend the heavens in a single step. Dream on. Those against, 206. Impossible. It is natural for the votes in favor to be little, but the votes against being few is inconceivable as well. The Lion King stands up abruptly. The Lion King's expression seems like he is ready to eat anyone made the speaker quiver. Neutral votes and abandoned votes come to a total of 2,367, the number participating in the conference is 3,583, the proposal is passed. After throwing the conclusion at the audience, the speaker immediately crouches down and rolls away. The Lion King snatches the voting results and looked at it for several times. The results were clearly written in his face. In the end, he could only express a nasty face and tear it apart to vent his anger. How did you do it? Kaja leans over and says in my ear, her breath smelling like flowers. However, I simply smile mysteriously, refusing to answer. Actually, it is not that big of a deal. Just when everyone thought that I was playing around, I did quite a bit of important preparations. For example, as a veteran lawyer who is skilled in exploiting the loopholes of the law and a legislator who fills these holes, I studied the rules and regulations of the alliance one by one. Veteran, greater than in a way means veteran, but it means someone who has been in the industry/trade/anything else for very long and became quite cunning in dealing with its matter. Can also be used to refer to a cunning/slippery person. Important decisions can be passed as long as at least 80% do not oppose it. Yes, in order to prevent a decision being unable to be made due to its diverse members, each having differing views, such a rule was made. So, when the underground autarchs are unable to come to a consensus, this rule allowed a large portion of the underground city lords' proposals to be passed. But, they neglected the fact that just because they are not against it doesn't mean that they are for it. It may be difficult to pull the votes of the underground city lords over to our side, but it isn't entirely possible to stop them from voting against us. The portion of the information of the law is indeed lacking, but if you are willing to not vote against us joining the alliance, I will pass the rest to you after the conference. Yes, it is sufficient as you don't vote against us, we just don't want to lose that badly. This is a threat. He means the book he sold. This is Sulphur Mountain City's present. Your clothes should be destroyed in the catastrophe, right? These leaves and rattan clothing are rushed out by the druids of the Release of Heaven's Body group. It is made of natural materials and we guarantee that it is in line with its teachings. You don't have to pay us. It is free. It would be sufficient if you all can help us a little in the conference voting. You know, we are new and don't know much about here. I hope to be able to rely on your big brother. This is a favor. TL, there are two types of you in Chinese. Question mark. Greater than casual, greater than used to address others who are more noble or respected. The more formal one is often used when they address Adam and Woomians. He is also using it to address the person now as it makes one seem more humble. Don't you all feel like the situation isn't right now? There are now 4 underground autarchs who are split into 2 factions. It is just a matter of time before war breaks out between them. Don't you feel like we need a lubricant kind of existence in the alliance? He should be strong, but not too strong. It would also be best if he isn't ambitious. This is reasoning. When the Lion King and Dragon Queen were distracted by the scepter, I had plenty of opportunities to pull votes over to my side. Those underground city lords, when they came with the mindset that since they require 80% of votes for the proposal to be approved, then even if I were to abandon my vote, the proposal wouldn't be passed anyway, we were destined to succeed. Congratulations to our new alliance vice head. Eduar's congratulations brought along with it an ill-intent sarcasm. Ignoring the high priestess of the dark elf who is already leaning on me, the other 2 underground autarch on the other side is already exerting their killing intent. Normally, the more cheerful a dark elf seems to smile, the more ruthless they would be. No one likes it when their authority is split. No matter how well I have put it before, I have already offended all of them. Also, the looks that a large portion of the city lords looked at us with aren't that friendly anymore. After all, I lied to them all, even though what I said was the truth. However, this is what I hope to achieve. I smile, satisfied. However, being stared at suddenly by over 1,000 legend rank experts, the 2 people by the side feels uneasy. Furthermore, a large portion of the ill-intent gazes were shot towards Annie who is sitting in the middle. After all, she is the future city lord of Sulphur Mountain City. I don't have the time to wait for Annie to mature slowly. The greater the pressure, the faster the growth. From now on, the entire city is our enemy. Endure through it. This is my test towards you. Roland, hurry up and come over to help. We have met with big trouble. The base has been attacked by undead lords. Suddenly, Little Red's voice rings at the back of my mind. She actually used the emergency communication, and for her to require assistance against an undead lord, the undead lord is at least of the level of a Zayuo Senator. You won't be gleeful for long. Molly's taunt flashes across my brain. In that instant, I understood what happened. Using the right to join in the auction or to view the scepter to strike a deal with the undead senators so that they can become your fighters. Infighting isn't allowed during the duration of the conference, but the undead lords aren't restricted by this rule. Indeed, the underground autarchs aren't to be underestimated. I stand up, intending return to the base to back the rest up, but the Dragon Queen blocks the entrance. Where are you intending to go? The conference isn't over yet. Leaving the conference on your accord, this isn't very respectful to the Ayo, brat, what are you doing? By the side, a gnome lad is using its short legs to kick the Dragon Queen with all of its might. What was weird is that even though the motion of his short legs weren't fast, the Dragon Queen was unable to avoid the kicks. The kicks landed squarely on her knees every time. You bad person, bullying Appa, dang hit you. Somehow, I felt that this voice is very familiar, but I didn't have the mood to laugh at the moment. At the same time, a premonition creeps into my heart, as though something unfortunate is going to happen to me. I can guarantee with my years of experience of meeting with misfortune, this feeling means that a big trouble is about to come. The gnome lad raises his head, his face full of pimples and his snot flowing all the way to his chin. His 2 eyes stare intently at me. Then, he smiled foolishly at me. Appa. Ah dang. If it weren't for his unique way of addressing me, I wouldn't be able to connect the extremely big abomination that I personally created with this little gnome in front of me. At this moment, I hear a chilling voice from the back of my ears. You even have an illegitimate son, and it is a gnome. Master, I have nothing to say about your tastes. May I ask you, what did you do with the mother of this child? Did you abandon her? Master, you are too filthy. Chapter 49, Transform and Roll Out. It was total chaos within the brilliant Golden Chapel. Even when the organizer tried his best to maintain order, he couldn't stop the commotion among the underground city lords. Even though they were tricked, to be able to make this proposal pass in the conference, it could also be attributed to Sulphur Mountain City's might. The decisions made in the conference weren't a game and couldn't be changed, otherwise the basic trust in the alliance will waver. The fifth autarch, Sulphur Mountain City. These are the phrases that comes up often during the chatters which underground city lords are engaged in now. Many of them had begun to accept it as reality within their hearts. A sudden emergence of a new underground autarch means a reshuffling of the powers within the alliance. In the worst case scenario, it might even incite thousands of battles to rewrite the territories of the biggest factions. These sudden circumstances represent endless trouble and a hard-to-come-by opportunity. None of the underground city lords who are qualified to sit in this inner hall are easy to deal with. These days, everyone has their own ambitions, and since Sulphur Mountain City is able to climb up to the top spot, then there's no reason the rest can't do the same. Furthermore, the new autarch still lacks supporter. Perhaps, some will take this as an opportunity to side with him to win themselves resources and backing. Countless desires and ideas made the underground city lord's mind start to turn, and naturally, the inner hall's atmosphere becomes bizarre and lively. As for my conflict with the Dragon Empress, other than the few people who sit near to us, there weren't many people who noticed it. It is a pity, as that means not much of the crowd would notice the Dragon Empress Molly, who strikes fear in the entire underground world, acting like an infuriated old cat, baring her teeth towards a small gnome. Furthermore, she could only express her wrath verbally. Despite being an underground autarch, she doesn't dare to start fighting in the conference hall. What that is even more pitiable is that despite the Dragon Empress, who is used to being unreasonable, is going to be reasonable for once, but the silly-looking gnome isn't giving her any face. The exact meaning for isn't giving her any face is inflexible mind. What are you staring at? Stare some more and I will eat you. The gnome, who is full of big words, ignores the restraint of the Dragon Queen. His arrogance causes the surrounding audience's eyes to fall to the floor. But I know that this threat isn't just for show. When Adang says that he will eat her, it means that he really intends to eat her, and he probably has the ability to carry out the action. Full of big words, greater than the exact phrase is an adjective used to refer to a person talking big and still not regretful, ashamed, etc. about it. But, the base is still under attack right now. It isn't the moment to be wasting time with the Dragon Queen, who is obviously trying to drag our feet. Adang, before I allow you to, you aren't to eat any living thing. Adang's face bitters instantly, but he still nods his head in reply. However, it is fortunately that Adang's brother gave him another name, Yadang, preventing the Dragon Queen from recognizing Adang from his nickname from the start. Even though Adang sounds nice, why can't we use it as his real name? I have pondered over this question but couldn't understand the reason. Can't think for a good name for him, so I'll just direct translate his name for now. Abbas, demonic spatial hellhound bastion. 2. To think that the head of the 4 heavenly kings, the elder brother of the 7 deadly sins wrath, would reject the name I bestowed on it. Look how obedient are Abao, Gramagus, and Adang. Now that they are used to their nickname, I doubt that they will remember it even if you call their real name. From nowhere, a familiar voice sounds from the emergency communication channel that we agreed on earlier. Are you here yet? There are 3 undead lords at the level of Zayuosenaner. I can't hold out for long. If you don't back us up soon, I will bring the rest of the guys to flee. There wasn't a single trace of pride of the dragon tribe seen in the legends, running away decisively when the odds aren't in their favor. In reality, Little Red is just following the standard dragon tribe way of doing things. On the contrary, the dragons find themselves unable to comprehend why the dragon tribes in the epics would they fight to their death. Why aren't they escaping even though they can't beat the opponent? They even landed down to fight with those metalkin foot soldiers. Are they stupid? However, from Little Red's more and more panicked urging, I shouldn't waste any more time. Go. I grab the hand of Adang, who was acting very aggressively towards the Dragon Empress, while intentionally ignoring the stare behind me, which was getting more and more colder, and Adang's mysterious saliva while staring at the Dragon Empress. The Dragon Empress grabs her leg, grimacing in pain. She didn't try to stop us. Unexpectedly, she found herself instinctively fearing that shorty. Both her eyes were filled with confusion. Hey, slowly think about it. I don't believe that you would be able to guess that the small gnome would be the savage carnivore Yadang see. However, from the vicious stare the Dragon Empress shot us with, the trouble has just begun. Elisa, you stay behind to help Annie. I don't feel at ease leaving her here alone. No, I want to go. Besides, didn't you say that you want to train her so that she can stand up individually? This is such a good chance for her. I turn back in shock. It is rare to see Elisa persisting on the matter. I feel like there's something ahead waiting for me. I must go. Perhaps, this would be useful to me in breaking through to the legend realm. Those who are in a bottleneck will tend to have intuitions of plausible opportunities for them to break through. Since she has already said so, there is no reason for me to stop her. Diana and Victoria, enter the inner district to support Annie. Victoria, it is your turn to perform. Don't let me down. Diana, if there is anyone who tries to stop you both from entering, feel free to beat them up. Number 3 and number 4, remain here to support them. The rest of the Roland robots, follow me back. We have something up at our base. After delegating simple instructions, I left Xuiti in charge and jumps onto Roland number 2 to take a free ride back. Boom. Boom! A series of earthquakes made the buildings by the side of the road shake. Sitting on the head of number 2, I close my eyes, deep in thoughts. Behind me, Elisa consoles me. Rest easy, with Lord and use, Little Red, there and those defensive power we left in the base, nothing bad will happen. I nod my head in silence. I will never tell her that I wasn't worrying just now, it was just that I was hesitating over whether shouting Autobots, roll out, or Decepticons, roll out, would be cooler. However, looking at the tension on the faces around me, I think I should adapt to the situation and don't say things that would make me get beaten up. Ha ha ha, so fun. Appa, this isn't a living thing. Can I eat? The salivating Adang is bouncing around like a pinball due to the movements of the robot. Even so, there's not a single possibility of him falling down. In this instant, he is even pointing at the Roland number 2 beneath his feet. It looks like the massive figure of the robot has evoked his appetite. You can't, Adang. Also, you aren't allowed to call me Appa here, just call me Woomians or Lord will do. Okay, Appa. Woomians. Okay, Appa. Can you stop being so inflexible? Appa, Adang is not inflexible. Appa is Appa. Alright, considering that this joke has been overused and no longer serves comedic purpose, I will skip the seesaw interaction between me and Adang. In the end, with Elisa looking at the commotion with a smile, I admitted defeat, allowing him to call me whatever he pleases. I don't care anymore. However, it seems that Elisa knew from the start that this little gnome can't be my blood-related son. Her performance in the hall is just her habitual venomous tongue acting up. You just had to learn from that gutless Margaret. Saints are used to looking at changes from the perspective of an onlooker. However, sometimes being an onlooker means that you are playing a passive role, thinking too much and over-considering everything, resulting in the lack of courage to change. Putting everything else aside, let's just talking about her feelings. If only she had a little more courage, she could have just pressured Adam and forced the fool to take responsibility. As for why did she drag the matter until now, it is because she is too gentle and too considerate about other people's feelings. Sometimes, it might not be a good thing. Isn't being a little selfish good? There isn't such a thing as a happy ending for everyone in the world. Hesitating for a moment, I upped the volume of my mumblings. Margaret is Margaret. Elisa is Elisa. If you can't even recognize this, you don't qualify to create a soul imprint that belongs solely to you. You can't show the world that you are an existence that surpasses the mortals, and you won't be able to open up your path as a legend above the rest. The sharp-eared Elisa could hear my muted mumbling clearly. Her delicate body jolts and the expression she looks at me with is complicated. It was enough saying to this point, it could even be said to be excessive. I turn my head to question Adang. Adang, you probably didn't come alone, right? Who brought you here? Big Sister Graya. Who? I blank out for a moment. There isn't anyone named Grya within the Undead Lords. Could it be a super rookie who appeared recently? To be able to bring Aodang without ending up as spare ration, this isn't what a normal Undead Lord is capable of. It's that big sister who sings very badly. Hearing that I didn't understand him, Aodang's hands waved about in a panic. Oh, it's Grey.Sin. You can just say the throat of death. Could it be that there are too many victims recently that her reputation took a plunge, so she decided to change her name to scam others to attending her concert of death? Hearing that the person sings very badly, I immediately thought of the familiar Bone Dragon Queen. Grya's singing has reached the level of polluting one's mind. Yet, she is totally oblivious to it. Her actions that keeps creating new victims consistently is even more famous than she herself. Other than Appa, if other people call her that, Big Sister Grya will beat them up. Aodang don't want to be beaten. Hee, it can't be that you can't defeat her. My Aodang won't lose to any one of the senators. No, Aodang don't hit Big Brother and Big Sister. Aodang is obedient. Whoever who bullies Big Brother, Big Sister, and Appa, Aodang will beat him up. Appa, is Aodang obedient? Very obedient. This is what I call a good kid. I happily carry this small cutie and turn around to wink at Elisa, hinting her that this is how a good kid should be like. Yes, such a regret. You were such a cute little girl then, exactly where went wrong to create the venomous-tongued housewife today. Alright, in consideration of my precious collection, these words in my mind better stay in my mind. I better not challenge her. Appa, Big Sister Grya flies very fast. I let her go help the fight first. The little gnome sucks in his mucus as he jumps about with a face of expectation, just like a kid waiting to be praised. Does she know the location? I asked her to fly southwest of the city. Beat up annoying people on the way. It may seem unbelievable, but this kind of experts who are lacking in intelligence that even their cultivation depends on instincts, the intuition is often much stronger than rational thinking. Apparently, Aodang and Adam belongs to the type from thinks with their body, depending heavily on their intuition. Bone Dragon Queen Grey.Sin is here. She is actually here to help me. Little Red's message makes me heave a sigh of relief. Grey.Sin's singing throat may be unreliable, but her fighting prowess is definitely reliable. But, if we remain with our passive approach, problems will occur sooner or later. We can't just depend on others. We are still at least 20 minutes away from our base. Besides, what if I reach the field and end up getting recognized by those familiar fellows? Back then, from the intelligence of the Dark Elf spy then, I knew that even if Lord Yongai is sealed, the Dragon Empress would not dare to lift the seal. The underground world will also treat it as an extremely dangerous existence that should remain sealed forever. If Lord Yongai really reappears, maybe, the battle between the surface and the underground can be stopped and change into an alliance army to hunt down Lord Yongai. Aodang, change to your flying model. Allow me to enter. Aodang nods his head. With a stomp of his feet, he is immediately shrouded within a dark fog. A few seconds later, when the dark fog scatters with the light of the divine arts, the lively gnome disappears. On the ground where he was standing on is a beautiful silver-plated sky dragon. It is more than 20 meters long without any legs. There isn't a strand of hair on its entire body and instead, there are 6 gigantic metal wings. Aodang's entire body is equipped with a heavy metal armor that seems as solid and heavy as the city walls. But, looking carefully, the tough armor is all grown within the flesh. Even more so, the triangular-shaped dragon head is filled with traces of metal all around. Countless spare parts are lodged into the flesh. The gears of its 4 limbs are rotating at high speed. This is a perfect harmony between machine and a body of flesh. The sky dragon seems like a perfect artwork, totally different from the common idea of an abomination. It says spare parts but not sure what these spare parts refer to. Probably just bits and pieces of metal, I guess. Aodang, roll out. Elisa and I walk into the control room within the dragon's body. After a dragon roar with traces of a child's voice within, the 6 wings of the dragon stretch out and crimson red inferno shoots out. Just like a rocket car, Aodang uses the counterforce to launch himself out. It may seem smooth within the control room, but gauging from the rapidly retreating scenery, a normal gigantic dragon probably don't even qualify to eat his dust. Think of vehicles on the desert. greater than dust flies up. An abomination that can't transform? Sounds incredulous. Actually, it isn't. It is the cornerstone and shackles for his existence. The original sin that Adang represents is gluttony. Gluttony, to be direct, simply mean excessive appetite, and appetite is the most basic need of a living being. Living beings need to ingest food and digest them as nutrients. The basic motive is for survival and to grow stronger so that they can achieve victory in the cruel natural world and gain the opportunity to evolve. Gluttony equals evolution plus survival. When this equation formed in my brain, history's smallest abomination was born. It was only 1.2 meter and couldn't even raise a pebble. His only ability was to eat. Abominations are basically the melding of corpses together, making it suited to meld other living beings together with it and evolve without boundaries. It is able to integrate the strength of the prey he eats into his own flesh, and very soon, after several wars, a mountain-like corpse monster became the nightmare of all living souls. But then, on one occasion when he was ingesting, he self-exploded. I analyzed the reasons for failure, and that is because no living being or dead being can evolve continuously and exceed the limits of their physical body. Overly powerful strength, due to the complex structure of the flesh, will only cause deformity and self-destruction. Then, when the equation of excessive evolution equals self-destruction has been formed, the next step is to set a goal, direction and limit for his evolution. Fine, I admit that I copied a certain masked knight with many forms in this process. Masked knight refers to Kamen Rider. The experiments weren't all smooth sailing. More than a dozen of experimental subjects self-destructed, the only one successful was Adang. After that, I set certain goals for Adang. A transformation for normal battles, a transformation with flight ability, a transformation with diving ability, a full offensive transformation and such. Then I allowed him to eat as he pleases to evolve. For example, no matter how many genes that are suited for high-speed flying are swallowed, they are only limited to the flight transformation. For example, after ingesting the wings of a sky dragon and the wings of a phoenix, he will use the better gene to build his own wings, while the weaker gene will serve as backup and ration. After swallowing and merging like this a couple of times, naturally, the perfect flying transformation will be created. Stealing the claws of the behemoth, stealing the wings from the gigantic dragons, and stealing the talent to use holy light from the angels, Adang is really the perfect living being and a terminal existence. Fine, this design concept has succeeded, but without doubt, I have gone too far. On theory, Adang, who is always evolving, can eventually evolve to the point where he can slaughter gods. Of course, in order to reach such a level, he must first consume several semi-gods without bloating himself to death. However, I feel that before this happen, Mother Earth will first send down a hand to slap me to death for creating this unnatural monster capable of destroying the world. Fortunately, perhaps due to its excessive strength and limitless potential, he was envied by the heavens. No matter how much I try, I am unable to increase Adang's intelligence. Magic and martial arts cannot be executed on instincts itself. The lack of sufficient intelligence restricts him from maximizing the potential of his flesh. This is also why he, despite obviously having the strength to be number one among the senators, he is ranked first from the last. However, if we were to separate the physical body and the brain, then put a pilot into the physical body to serve as a pilot, then the lack of intelligence wouldn't be a problem. Fine, I admit that I copied from the gigantic robots who always bully those little monsters for Adang's design concept. However, a hero's origin isn't questioned. No matter whether it is a black cat or white cat, a cat that can catch a mouse is a good cat, isn't that right? Adang, how many transformations do you have that are at least of A rank? There is a total of 12. 9 of the battle transformations are S rank and above, and among them, the ferocious beast form in City Siege form is SS rank. Hearing that, I can't help but to click my tongue. Back then, Adang only has 7 designs, and of which, only 4 of them are at least S rank. But today, there is actually one which reached the SS rank under my evaluation. That is, under the condition that the pilot is skillful, it should be able to shock even semi-gods. Don't turn into your SS rank transformation in front of other people. You should only require S rank transformation to deal with today's matters. Greed and gluttony are the type which start out extremely weak but have unlimited growth potential. But, Adang's rate of evolution still makes me surprised. Initially, I thought that it would take him 1,000 years before he can reach such a state. Aw dang, don't eat living beings from now on, stop your transformation temporarily. Turn your attention into improving your fighting techniques and your control over magic. Excessive evolution isn't a good thing for both him and this world. He should be receptive to my orders. Yes, Appa, we are here. Glancing downwards, we have indeed arrived. The spectacle below is one of the battle between gigantic monsters. The 6th Senator Mnemonic Bone Beast Crimspur, the 10th Senator and King of Corrosion Lamost, and the 11th Senator the Great Mathematician Penny Horst. Other than the 11th Senator who, as a Lich, has the normal size of a human, the other opponents are gigantic beasts above 30 meters tall. On the defensive side, Ancient Red Dragon and Bone Dragon Queen weren't losing much in physique compared to them. Right now, the Red Dragon is fighting with the Mnemonic Bone Beast while the Blue Crystal Bone Dragon that keeps creating a dissonance is soloing the remaining 2 senators. As they roll on the ground, a whole bunch of goblin landmines buried under the ground explode, but that wasn't even sufficient to scrape their skin. The cannons from the goblin has yet to stop, but similarly, it has been neglected totally. Aw dang wants to eat meat. With a battle cry, the silver-plated sky dragon disappears within the black fog and an enormous ape appears on the ground. Its muscles are well developed and its arms that muscular to the point of deformity is shining with the radiance of metal. He is the tallest and strongest among the giant beasts here. Koziadon, coming to visit. The gigantic ape stretches out its arm and does a weird pose. This, quite an old cartoon. Noticing the strange gazes the people in the surrounding were looking at it with, a composite voice diffuses from Adang's body. As expected, I shouldn't this kind of old joke that reveals my age, look at how cold the crowd is. Then. Cold, greater than awkward. That gigantic ape beast crosses his hand in a shape at 90 degrees, going into another weird pose aiming towards Crimspur. Hee, look at my action beam. No, Ultra Beam. Action Beam, Crayon Shinchan Ultraman parody. Alright, the crowd still remains cold. Boom. But, a laser really shoots out from the arms, pushing Crimspur down. Ha, you think that I'm just faking it? Then, facing the strong enemies who start surrounding us, the ape beast sudden raises his both hand and does a handstand. So that button is actually the cannons. Right, where is the punching button? Is it here? Don't bother me, Alisa. I am very skilled in fighting games. So this is kicking? Okay, now that I am used to the basic controls, now it is time for Chinese martial arts to sweep the foreign world off its feet. Adang is actually quite a country bumpkin-like name. Okay, really weird chapter. It seems the author is really obsessed with Sentai eyes. Chapter 50. The Marauder. To a necromancer, recalling the dead souls to summon their own skeleton warriors is indubitably their first lesson. As for the second lesson, naturally it is to finally control the undead beings. If you allow the unintelligent low-tier undead to move instinctively, the efficiency and effectiveness is unreliable. He might just trip on his right leg, fall on the ground and disassembles. For a skeleton soldier which only comprise bones, there is not a single thank you about it. Furthermore, if you were expecting it to save you and it disassembles its body while moving towards you, it would really make one want to cry. Exact phrase, greater than want to cry but no tears come out, used to refer to ridiculous yet depressing situations, thus, placing one's consciousness into one's own undead creation, align and resonate along with it and using one's will to direct the movement of the undead creation. This has become a necessary lesson for necromancers. And I, Lord Yang, at very least, am a qualified necromancer. When I realize that the control system that I designed last minute out of interest is laggy and that orders aren't conveyed clearly, it goes right when you point left, I naturally gave up on it. Instead, I used the most basic undead control technique, convergence of consciousness. Ha, eat my 18 dragon subduing bomb. Although there aren't any dragons. With a steady horse stance, Adang steps forcefully on the ground and his whole body shoots out. The next moment, the claws are at Crimspur's head. His deformed upper arms acts like the barrel of a cannon and the powerful strength of metal bursts. The claws are the cannonball while the arm is the cannon. Break. A low howl and the dragon head, Kaka, is reduced to just fragments which are blasted all around. Ow, impossible. Crimspur's remaining two heads exclaims in shock. He has crossed blows with Adang before, and back then, he wasn't that powerful to be able to destroy his head at the first encounter. As a talented swordsman in the past, I have seen innumerable martial arts, and the techniques hidden in secret manuals from foreign worlds are totally different from the mainstream martial arts of Ike Continent. What martial arts in Ike Continent aim for is to improve oneself from within and transcend the limits of a mortal. It doesn't focus much on the little technical details. In contrast, the martial arts from foreign world aim to dig out every inch of potential of the physical body, exchanging 1 point of strength into 3 points of power. It is similar to the techniques battle monks use in exerting their strength, but it is much more exquisite and refined. The only regret is that their martial art lack the reinforcement of mana and instead, require a special kind of mana to support the skill, ki and internal energy, so it has only served as decorations for my home. But, with Adang's perfect physique, the lack of mana could be made up for with his strength. TL, if you haven't watched Chinese martial arts drama, the concept is like Shaka from Naruto. Although Rock Lee using Taijutsu, he also has the support of Shaka to boost his attacks. Right now, Adang, who is in sync with me, is using such a perfect strength exertion technique for the first time. Looking at its tremendous might, he is also quite surprised. But this isn't the time to be surprised. Next, Adang places his forelimbs on the floor and starts sprinting like an enraged ape. Every jump of his brings a great shock that the earth cannot bear. His entire body is like an unstoppable rolling snowball, getting faster and faster. Dodge. Crimspur could no longer underestimate my attacks. However, it is impossible the much larger and slow Lamos to dodge my attacks. Adang's speed bursts, and when he reaches the side of Lamos's body, he suddenly stands up, and treating his whole body as a cannon tower, he rams into him unreasonably like a raging bull. Metal Mountain Crush. Although there isn't any Metal Mountain TL, it is a move from China's Bajigan Boom. The massive six-legged giant ant couldn't even make a single noise when it was sent flying. His 6 legs danced wildly as he flew backwards, destroyed everything in his path. His trait of gluttony has allowed Adang's physical body to evolve to the point of perfection, while the martial arts of foreign worlds allows one to maximize the potential of one's body to the maximum. Combining the both together, the fighting prowess of Adang shoots up rapidly. When the giant ape beast sets its sight on the final undead senator, Lich Penny immediately creates a dimensional gate and escapes immediately without leaving behind a single word. They were only working together because of the alignment of their interests. Furthermore, the Eternal Night Scepter isn't in their hands yet, so the 3 senators didn't have the intention to go all out from the start. When Graya appeared and expressed her intent to help our sides, in consideration of their relationship with their colleague, they started to secretly go easy on us. TL, not really relationship. It is more of giving someone face so as to not sever the relationship to a point it is irreconcilable. Go easy, greater than truthfully, I have no idea what it really means. Literally means fist of peace. Right now, looking at the rampaging Adang who cannot be stopped, he is obviously in a frenzy from fighting. If this silly fellow really ignores their previous ties and knocks them to death, then wouldn't they become the laughing stock of the people, dying for nothing? Powerful races like Undead Lords and the Dragon Tribe depends heavily on their talents. Little Red is only in the basic stage of myth rank, 1 tier below semi-god, but if complemented with the talents of the Dragon Tribe as a golden race, even Adam might not be able to deal with her easily if they start fighting. Initially, Little Red would be sufficient to deal with 2 senators by herself. A large portion of the senators are only saint rank, but due to their race talents and their army of undead, they are able to stand on equal footing with myths. Now that the opposing side has the support of another 2 senators, furthermore their rankings are above theirs, they are obviously at the losing side. A good man doesn't suffer the losses in front of him. For an undead lord to be able to survive for such a long period of time, just having strength is insufficient. Thus, noticing the raging Adang and the departure of Penny, the long-lived Crimspur decisively carries Lamos away. There is still a few days before the auction, the main show has yet to start, and I still need them to play their part. Thus, I had no intention on chasing them. Graya's expression is agitated and she tries to say something, but I stop her with my telepathic voice. We'll talk later. When Adang releases his transformation and turns into a lively small dwarf, I habitually took out a small manual from my back and passes it over to him. Lad, I see that you have a unique bone structure. You have potential for martial arts that can't be found, may not be found in 10,000 people. The mission for protecting the world depends on you now. I have a secret manual Buddha's palm here. Seeing that how we are fated to meet, I will lower the price and sell to you at a price of $10. TL, Kung Fu Hustle Kacha. The hungry Adang swallows the manual in one mouthful, almost biting my hand in the process. Then, he stares at me with expectant eyes, hoping that his appa will continue feeding him. Eaten, wait, spit it out. I am just joking, I haven't made a copy yet and I haven't succeeded in learning it yet. This toy is the real thing, even if I can't practice it, I can also treat it as a family heirloom to trick others. Adang looks very wronged at the old thing who is digging something out from the mouth of a small dwarf. If other people tried to play this on him, he would have long swallowed them. But, seeing that it is his appa, he can only allow him to act as he pleases. He stares very pitifully at his big sister Graya, hoping to be saved. However, Graya, who has transformed back into a human, couldn't care less about saving her younger brother at this moment. Her pair of beautiful eyes is locked onto her emperor. The disguise is meaningless in front of her. Everything in her surroundings has been neglected, her eyes of passion is sufficient to burn down everything. Imp. Lord, long time no see. Remembering that her emperor is in disguise now, seemingly trying to conceal his identity, Graya changes her words. Like a young girl that is in crush, Graya with embarrassment on her face pulls on the sleeves of the emperor, playing with her own fingers while tiptoeing about. What question why the emperor abandoned everything to fake his death, what the mission that Lionheart entrusted has been all thrown to one corner. Right now, the agitated cold-faced queen can't even speak properly. Tinge of red actually appears on her pale face. Her inverted black-white eyes didn't have the deepness and intrigue that it used to have. She stares intensely on the heartless person in front of her, afraid that he would suddenly disappear. Of course I would recognize that passionate gaze, but I am unable to reply her and could only secretly cry in agony. I might be dead, but I am not a necrophile, thus I don't have any feelings towards a dead human, no, a dead dragon. Lord? Just when I am trying to squeeze out my brain juice to come up with some nonsense to say, I suddenly sense danger and lower my head instinctively. At the same time, the person who is immersed in the joy of being reunited with her emperor suddenly feels a gush of cold air from her back, jolting her awake. She spreads her bone wings and flies away. On the spot she was on, there is the traces of cuts from an ice blade. Elisa, you don't have to. My shock lingers in the air as I notice something wrong with Elisa. Her eyes are bloodshot and even slightly yellow. Her pupils narrow like a wild beast, her emotionless face that she normally equips disappears completely. Scales appear on her face as she pants heavily while staring deeply at Graya. Her right arm has already completely transmogrified into a demon's hands with reddish-orange scales on it. The horns behind her ear is growing thicker at a pace visible to the eyes. The tail behind her is also gradually distorting and changing shapes. High demonification. How can this be? I immediately take out the devil contract and didn't find anything wrong with it. However, without a doubt, Elisa has broken the seals of the contract and underwent high demonification. Ah! Die, die, die. The frenzied Elisa jumps into midair and spreads open a reddish-orange wings of flesh. Then, with a bend of the wings, she actually rushes downwards to deal a deadly assault towards Graya. To a normal person, just the wind pressure from the demonified metal fists is sufficient to claim their life. Looking at the stranger which suddenly charges at her, Graya frowns, feeling frustrated for being disrupted during her reunion with her emperor. Her opponent isn't weak, but she is still lacking compared to her. Finger of death. Grey Sen. What are you doing? The furious howling of her emperor made Graya, who don't fear anything, shivers. She scatters the magic which she was casting and obediently bends down hugging her head, not even bothered by her silky silver hair getting dirty. That turtle-like defense could be said to be perfect, the wires and sharp claws couldn't even scratch her. Incantation of law, obligatory enforcement. I shout while lifting the devil contract up in the air. Under the help of my soul imprint mark of justice, A 7-circle spell instant casts. In midair, a silver gavel knocks down and 2 silver light encircles me and Elisa. The scale representing fairness appears. The contractual relationship between me and Elisa is being examined. Following which, as Elisa broke the contract, the scale loses its balance and a large amount of power of order shrouds around Elisa's body, restricting her and starts to enforce the terms of the contract to undo the demonification. However, the Chaos Abyss and Origin of Order are equal powers. In the end, the rampaging power of order couldn't do anything and the effects of the spell scatters. It could only restrict Elisa's movement, but the demonified portions were like water that is spilled, unable to be undone. Even when she is unable to move, Elisa stares furiously at Graya, her beast-like eyes full of killing intent. That is a heavy grudge that makes one want to grind the other party's bone even after killing her. Pa! Little Red knocks on Elisa's head, leaving her unconscious. Then, she carefully carries her. Roland, it is all my mistake. I forgot to remind you not to bring Elisa her. Back then, it was Graya who killed Elisa. Looks like when she saw the person who killed her in her previous life, the resentment in her soul is incited, allowing her to break the shackles of the contract and to lose her rationality. I carry my maid over from Little Red and shakes my head, sighing. No, it isn't your fault. It is all my fault, all my fault. The deeply asleep Elisa seems to be floating within the comfortable sea and countless powerful existence accompanies her. As long as she is willing to take it, the secrets of the abyss, limitless power and the seat of the demon's nobility, it is all within her grasp. No. Instinctively sensing that there are more important things to do, Elisa rejected the temptation from the abyss. Then, she went from one dream into another. In the dream, she is a small thief whose goal is to become the richest person in the world. Following her big brother Holy Knight, big sister Mage and that fool Adam on an adventure, the small team of adventurers traveled across the world. Be it the underground world, the deserts or the glacial, they left their traces around the world. Gradually, these rookies start to mature, becoming the legends in the mouth of new rookies. Life is an adventure and adventure is living. All emotions were mixed within the journey. There were happy things and depressing things. During the journey, her goal has unknowingly changed. Seeking treasures has somehow become a hobby and becoming the richest person on the world has become just a phrase that she is used to. The one most important to her is the one who is always walking around with a cheerful smile and yet, his heart is full of sorrow and pain. The one who kept giving discreetly, the silly big brother who protects her and her other companions. Elisa, can you hear me? A familiar voice rings by her ear. Elisa knows that her dream is about to come to an end. In her confusion, that hand of withered bones overlaps with a pair of big and warm hands. Is it Big Brother Rolo? In the gap between reality and dream, Big Brother Rolo's refined face stunts before turning into an expression at a loss of whether to cry or laugh. This is the expression he shows whenever he clears up the mess for her in that full dam. Back then, when she wasn't matured yet, she loved looking at the helpless and overspilling loving look of her big brother Rolo. For that, she even caused trouble around, causing her big brother Rolo to have to drag her to house after house to apologize. Fool dam, greater than short form for foolish Adam. But the next moment, the illusion scatters and the warm smile of big brother Rolo turned into the skeleton head that makes one grind their teeth. Maybe. The only thing that didn't change is that helpless expression and the overspilling love and happiness that comes from within. Oh, so it is the bastard master. It's good that you're okay, it's good that you're okay. You have been unconscious for 3 days, so it is normal for you to feel weak. Rest more. When her master leaves, Elisa struggles to get up. Looking around, she realizes that it is her own room. On the tea table beside the bed, there is plain water and porridge prepared for patients. There are even a few plum candies. Porridge is the only food that her big brother Rolo and her equally clumsy master can make. Looking at the traces of yellow within the white, it seems that it was the best among several failures. As for the candies. Hey, how many years has it been? Bastard master, you still think that I'm that little girl, who in the midst of a fever, would drink my porridge obediently when offered candy? Even though she complains, but Elisa still slowly removes the wrapper and throws the candy into her mouth. She closes her eyes to savor the taste, it is still the familiar taste in her memory, sourness within sweetness. The gallery of memories is still playing within her mind. Bits and pieces of events that happened in the past flashes past her window in her mind. The happenings of her previous life and her current life all become real memories for her. The weak lady struggles by the bedside and struggles to stand up. What have I become, to be unable to even face the real me? No wonder Master said that I was unqualified to enter the realm of legends. Isn't the goal of my life already decided? I am not the over-rational Margaret, nor am I the weak Lisa. I am Elisa, the one and only Elisa. I won't be like those two silly ladies, waiting until the end of time. What I want, I will take. I will take it with my own strength. Following Elisa's declaration, boundless fire pillars and sea of ice drowns the entire room. Unexpectedly, there isn't a hint of warmth of cold. Your soul imprint is to chase your desires and obtain the item of your dream. Deep within Elisa's soul, a bleeding dragon head is biting another black beast. Both of them are frantically attacking one another to slaughter each other. At the final moment of the slaughter, it turned into an imprint of two beasts biting at each other. This soul imprint of fangs sinking in one another represents the unstoppable offense of its owner, and in this instant, Elisa steps into the realm of legends. The Marauder, that is your name. Second chapter of the day. The Chinese name for the Marauder is Kama, which means someone who snatches by force. BTW. Due to the use of very Chinese phrases which I really find it hard to comprehend sometimes or find it hard to translate, so some parts may not be translated as literally as I wanted to. But, I will try to keep the meaning of the sentences. The complete sentence for the Kung Fu Hustle reference, 1:28 and 30 seconds. Comma, 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 comma plum candies.